news. Bad things coming too. But I never knew about the little things. Every single day, things get in my way. Someone has to pay for the little things. And I'm through with the scars and sick of my shoes and walking in the dark and it's got nothing to do with final solution. It's a box full of shit and I'm through with the cares when there's nothing to fix. When there's nothing to fix. When there's nothing to fix. And it all comes down to you.
Welcome to Pilgrim on Wrestling. Now time for the show.
Hey, man. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing. It's been a long week.
Trust me, I know the feeling. Because I swear, I can see it say I done worked harder being a podcast than I ever as a male talent or porn producer. And I didn't think that could ever happen, dog.
Well, you're expanding at a great rate. You got all kinds of shit.
Oh my. Well, I mean, it's thanks to y'all, man. Because, like I said, it's when you have great people to work with, you want to achieve greatness just not only for yourself, for them too. So, and trust me on this, we are achieving a lot with this wrestling podcast. People are paying attention, and I like that.
No, I'm a fan of it too. I like it,
Yes. So with that being said, welcome to Pilgrim on Wrestling here on the Premium Smoke Room. I am your host, Kevin Officer of a Champ, and let me introduce the man of the hour, the man with the dick power that will make you laugh for days and days and days, and he can't stand the Dark Order or this goofy-ass bullshit modern wrestling. I'm talking about the one, the only, Billy Pilgrim.
Well, I don't hate all the modern wrestling. I just hate the people that are like, the theater kids that they let in.
That's majority of them.
Well, I mean, I guess, I don't know. Nothing really interesting happened this week. As far as I worked last weekend and everything, and we talked about that on the last show. But what do you call it? They on the AEW they had a face down with the George Goulish gang and the House of Black, and I'm like, okay, no, you can't sit there and be serious and act like you're badasses when literally the entire gimmick now is literally it's you might as well come out to circus music. It's like, really, this is the feud that they're going to give the House of Black, or it's like,
I hope not, and because my God, it's just they like this even with me, even though I do like some parts of the Dark Order. And I do find them funny and hilarious. I enjoy them on BTE. Y'all done broke up every motherfucking clique but them. It's just like...
And there's like 187 members, and not a one of them draws a counterfeit peso in money. And,
I mean, even to the point that they didn't kill poor Anna Jay. Like, it's like she haven't had no wins. It's like...
That's the other thing. You put them in against all the top guys, and they have over competitive matches, and they never win. It's like,
I don't think have they ever won a major match? I mean, because to me it's like
No.
this. I hate when they sit there and say, "Well, yeah, they won on Dark." But no one watches Dark like that, nor do they watch Dark Elevation.
Because AEW doesn't promote it. I noticed they do a scroll across the bottom where they'll show results, but they're just showing it at the bottom of the screen while they're talking about something else, while like something more relevant is happening. And like NWA Power Hour, I remember that came on in my area at 10 o'clock on Fridays. And again, it wasn't their main show, but they let and they had things to make it different. Like I said, Cornette was the commentator, and I loved it. And they had matches. That's when Arn Anderson beat Muta in January of '90 to win the TV title because Muta was getting ready to go back to Japan. Like stuff happened, and they had like a different, but it wasn't the primary show, and they're not doing the talent any favors because you're not advertising the show. So who knows? Evil Uno could be like the Goldberg of AEW Dark. I don't fucking know. And then when he comes on the TV that people are watching, they're presented as goofballs, and that's the thing. I heard a clip of the show that he posted.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I beat the Arch Cassidy thing to death. I beat the George Goulas gang. Although I would like to maybe make that a T-shirt. Daddy said, and have them like the Scooby-Doo cartoon of all them, just like in a little van or something. But the thing is, and I was like, okay, I got to move on eventually to other topics. But then they had this face down, the three of them, and like they're all badasses against three badasses, and I'm like. A couple things that I saw the AEW shows this week where it's like it's becoming like a little too noticeable, and they're not making the effort to make it consistent. Like if you're gonna bring it up, that's why I don't like to talk about stuff that's like there's several things that are happening in my career that I have yet to talk about on the show because they're like on deck, they're there, but they haven't been set in motion, and I'm afraid to jinx it, and so I don't bring it up, but. You can't bring something up and then just be lazy about it because then it becomes apparent the hole you're basically just playing with the hole in your jeans and making it worse.
So program note for everyone, we are now on SGP Radio, and also I think one of the owners will be coming on our next show when we do it's either going to be the WrestleMania review or we're going to do the preview.
If you want him to like me, I wouldn't have him on for the WrestleMania review.
Oh no, he loves the fact that we give our opinion, and like I told him, I said we don't sugarcoat nothing on this show.
Here's a preview of the WrestleMania thing. Fuck this, or like I mean. It's like basically, I don't even have to tell you, okay, so if anybody doesn't have Peacock or they don't know how to get WrestleMania in this day and age, I'm going to tell you what it is. It's essentially it's going to be the equivalent of me shooting a porn with this really hot chick, and we don't take our clothes off at all. We just dry hump the entire time. And I'm not talking like this fake, like, are we being ironic? I'm talking like getting in there. Like in like fresh, scrape the shit, like cut the shit out of you, hot ass dungarees that are brand new, dark black that you haven't even. It takes you all school year to break in, kind of grinding, and just really just fucking try to start a fire, grinding, dry humping, and I'm gonna charge you $187 for it. Like there's WrestleMania. Yeah, and I'm gonna get the hottest chick I can get. I'm gonna get like one that's so hot that she doesn't look real, and I'm gonna put her in a turtleneck. And like weird, like unflattering slacks and just dry humper, while talking about like the news. That's going to be WrestleMania. It's going to be the antithesis of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah. So it's going to be. Well, I'm not going to say it's going to be interesting, but it's going to be interesting, not in the greatest of ways. So since we already on to the wrestling. Let's go ahead and get into the pro wrestling smoking. You know how we start that off with our good friend and legend, Gordon Solie and his wonderful poetry. So now it's time for the Gordon Solie Poetry Corner. Yeah.
Welcome, friends, and to another edition of Gordon Solie's Poetry Corner. I'd like to thank you for taking a break from the mask wars, from the pro wrestling mat wars, and the battles of the Crimson Mask to join me for a different type of art. So please take a seat and enjoy. I have two for you this week. One good try. Each day you learn a little why doubt. Why say this will pass over and you will forget this. Like all else, keep your confidence. Keep the exuberance. Keep the fire and the compulsion. You have made half attempt at living for 30 years. Now, at least make one good honest try. Give it everything you've got. At least when and if you fail, you'll know you gave it everything you had. And when and if you accomplish what you want, it'll be a contest well run. And I also have a small poem for you here. Sirens of Life. The wail of sirens is an apt description. It's the sound of the professional mourner in advance. So be sure as you go into this next week and things in the world are uncertain to give it one good try. Because at least you could always say you tried and you didn't just take what was handed to you. And of course, if you hear the sound of a professional moaner, that means you're listening to my good friend, Billy Pilgrim. Back to you, Billy.
And there you have it. The Gordon Solie Poetry Corner. Another two great poems from the voice of the golden era. Hey, Billy.
What was that?
That's it. The voice of the golden era. I swear.
And he was everywhere. He never. Yeah. And the thing was, he was one of those guys that was internal. Like I think, if by some hook or crook he was still alive today, I think like Lance Russell, he was just one of those people that, you would want to like be reading something or like broadcasting something. Like if he was still alive and like healthy enough to do it, I think the perfect business for him or a Lance Russell, who from what I know was in really good health up until he took that bad fall. Just watch a wrestling show or event and record commentary at home at your leisure and then put it out as a podcast the next day. People would and do it on a premium. I would pay for that.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. I miss his commentary. I'm sorry. Okay, was funny. Jim Cornette was talking about that. Someone asked him about the way that he says suplex, which is supplay.
Yeah.
Which is actually the way you're supposed to say it.
Yeah. I was telling somebody that the other day.
Yeah, so it's he kept it to what it was. He basically, like I said, kept it to what it is. And that's what I like about the old school commentators, that they talked and they didn't have nobody in their ear telling them what to say.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, see, that's the thing that, I don't think, I don't think that's probably why I'm a little harder on the commentary with, AEW, and that Tony Khan is not in their ear like a Vince McMahon is. Like nowadays, every wrestling company and they all want to mimic the WWE. It's like they gotta yammer, and it's like you paying these guys like 6 figures to 7 figures. Let them talk and let them hit the bullet points, or if there's something that you want them to say, just into the mic and let it go. because like the WWE commentary is a joke and a half, and lately the commentary for AEW could use a little tightening up.
Yeah.
Because like literally, like Tony Schiavone just is so not trying at this point. He actually even said, "It's Sting. That's all I got," and then just kind of sat back. Jim Ross, I think, is at his wit's end as far as trying to, broadcast some of the sillier shit. Like I heard, speaking of Cornette, I heard something about he called out Orange Cassidy at the beginning of AEW, and rightfully so about what the gimmick and everything. So I mean, I think they should go back to a 2-man booth and just have a color guy and have a play-by-play and just let them talk, like Rick Bonnie and the other. Ironically, with the Ring of Honor thing, Rick Bonnie is a name I remember, and then the other guy has the most normal name, and for whatever reason, I can never remember it, and I feel bad.
Yeah, because Rick Bonnie, the other one normally was Caprice Coleman that was with him.
Coleman, okay. See, I feel bad. I'm sorry, Coleman. I don't mean to keep forgetting your name, but it's like
Rick Bonnie that you mentioned.
If it was like Rick Bonnie and fucking Thunder Nuts Johnson or something, then I would be able to remember you. But it's like the most normal name, and Rick Bonnie, it's like never heard that name ever in my life, and probably will never hear it again. I don't even know what nationality that would be.
I think it would be Rick Bonnie would make him Italian, I guess.
I don't know, man. I don't. I mean, they're.
But he's a damn good commentator. And his voice, I like his voice. His voice is actually throwback, because like when I listen to his voice, it makes me think back to Georgia Championship Wrestling, the old school. Just the way he sounds, and Kevin Kelly.
Kevin Kelly was really good, but Kevin Kelly just seems to be like get no respect. Like he just bounced. They just he was Ring of Honor for a while. Then I think I don't know where he is now. I think maybe New Japan. Like the guy just is. I always hear about what a great announcer he is, and he is. But then gets moved around and kicked around, and it's just kind of funny that somebody like Michael Cole has had a job for like 30 years now, and Kevin Kelly has just been kind of bouncing from company to company. I don't know why AEW hasn't tried to hire him. Like there's a good play-by-play guy. And then Taz is a great announcer. Have him be the color. He's not managing. There's a team Taz, and he's never there, and he's never interfering or doing anything. So Kevin Kelly and Taz would be a great 2-man booth for Dynamite. And like I said, Jim Ross and Excalibur. I mean, Excalibur still has a long way to go, but he's not as bad as some people give him shit for. I would never have him, and this is just a thing for me if I was running the show. You're never allowed to be seen out without a suit on, because you look ridiculous in the mask and a t-shirt, but you look fine when you're wearing a suit. So like anytime you're being interviewed, you have to have a suit on. I don't care if you're just wearing shorts or flip-flops on the bottom half, you have to be having, otherwise you got to take the mask off. But yeah, I just, the announcing more than anything, the announcing in wrestling, I think, is the thing that has kind of slacked and fallen off the most. And I do think the WWE gets a large part of the blame on that, because of everybody wants to imitate and be the WWF.
So speaking about, we talking about AEW, it really wasn't that eventful this week to me. Other than, of course, MJF, which I told you, I said I wanted to unpack his ass. Loved the way that he did Wardlow.
Yeah.
I love the way he did Wardlow. He said, "Dog, you going home, I'm gonna pay your ass to stay home. The motherfuckers forget about you." And what I love about AEW, that they really played the kayfabe. They took him off the website. So, which is, I'm curious, which now makes me really pay attention to that feud more, because now I want to see what Wardlow gonna do now.
Yeah, and I didn't know they did that with the website, but it's like little things I'm noticing. Like again, the AEW is improving so much, and they're doing so many things right. So when they fuck around with something. It's like it's literally like if I come to your family reunion, it's like which one of these things is not like the other. It just kind of stands out. And like that short 8-man Texas Death Match, while Sting told Hardy to set up the ladder and do the dive, like Sting held him down and then periodically like punched him so he wouldn't run away. And I was like, you know what, that is right there, that is perfect, because you don't see that anymore. No. And
so they forget about the dude sitting over there, and they up there setting up the table and the ladder. Never went back to make sure he stayed down.
yeah and that's the thing too. If you're just gonna lay dead because what he did to you was so devastating, like, then why aren't you going for the pin? And then after you go through the table, then you manage to kick out. It's like, okay, again, it's storytelling and it's a form of logic. Like, and it's like ballet. Like, and you go to see, Swan Lake. The Black Swan does not, like the big dramatic Black Swan dance doesn't happen at the beginning of the show. It escalates to the crescendo at the end. So like little things like that. Again, with the rankings, Jay Lethal had a great match with Adam Cole, but then they talked about the rankings several times that show, and I'm like, what rankings? You guys literally shot yourself in the foot by giving Dante Martin a title shot, and now all of a sudden, Jay Lethal, who by the way has way more than 2 losses, Jay Lethal hasn't won shit since he's been in AEW. So why was he ever in the possibility of contendership for anything? Because he hasn't won anything. And now Nyla Rose is all of a sudden a monster again. And now she's just like decimating, and she's like the top contender. I'm like, how? She hasn't won anything.
When shit, yeah. Because it was kind of shocked me that she attacked Thunder Rosa, which I understand why you're feeding her Thunder Rosa. You're feeding her Thunder Rosa to kind of solidify Thunder Rosa, because we know Nyla is not beating Thunder Rosa in that match. But I would have thought Layla Hirsch, even do a program with her and Martinez. You know what I'm saying? Because that now you win the world title. Now I want that belt. Friendship over. You feel what I'm saying? Even though they did that with Britt Baker, but it was more under the guise that Britt was paying her. Now this is more about I want to be champ. So it kind of shocked me that they even went with Nyla Rose to begin with.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think they're gonna have Britt somehow take on Cargill, because she mentioned, her in a really god-awful promo. And again, she's trying. It's not entirely her fault, because Tony Schiavone is not. Tony Schiavone's just it's just blatant that he's just happy to be there, because and then the manager, the guy that she has with him, is totally ineffectual, and I think probably her and Britt Baker, and again, have Britt beat her. There's no shame in losing to Britt Baker. Get that goddamn belt off her.
Yeah.
And again, it'll be doing her a favor, because it'll get her away from the win streak, and it'll get her away from the title and get a little bit of the spotlight off her. But yeah, that's one of the things that have become really apparent. It's like, don't mention rankings if you're not going to be legitimately serious about it. Also, like, you got to, like, all of a sudden now, and again, like, what's her name? Vicky Guerrero comes out of nowhere, and now Nyla Rose, and it's like, again, what is it about? And it's becoming a pattern. If you notice, you become a new champion, and then some random person they haven't been using comes running out, and all of a sudden is this like ass kicker. It happened with what happened with Rhinestone Cowboy. Now they're doing it with Nyla Rose. So it's interesting. Like, this is not a theme you should keep up. Nyla Rose is she should have been an unbeatable monster from the beginning. She's been too much of an afterthought for a long time, but you got to build it back up because you ruined her. Same thing with Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal will probably go to Ring of Honor, as he should. And I would have him do an eventual feud with Grisham, but you beat him into powder. Like, there is no Like, you know, so you would have to rebuild Jay Lethal before you put him in contendership for anything. It's like, if you're gonna pretend like the rankings matter, you actually have to do the work to, you know, and then, like you said, the dark shows don't count.
Yeah. And see, part of it because they make it don't count.
Well, yeah.
Because if you don't promote it, you don't tell people to check it out, and you don't make it seem like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Then, to me, the wins that these motherfuckers accumulate on these shows don't really mean shit. No way.
And that's the thing. If you're the ones that are running it, then, and you don't make it seem like a big deal, then it's really not a big deal. You know, it's like you know, and there's ways, like, again, like when I talk about me or my, you know, as a talent, I give myself my due credit and what I've earned, but I don't sell myself short. You know, I don't sit here and go, well, you know, I mean, I guess, you know, whatever, you could kind of have me on your set and I do okay. It's like you can advertise something or promote something and make it look, without acting, you know, without making it, oh, it's just like Rampage. Like, no, it's not. Or it's just like Dynamite. Like, no, it's not. But this show could still be good. And if anything, you can make the show really good because you're under the radar, so you could do more fun shit, you know, with it. Like Jim Ross and Cornette made that show must-watch TV with their commentary and some of the stuff they did, and same thing with the wrestlers, you know.
Yeah, so I did get a chance to watch, well, on YouTube, the Swerve Strickland match with for the FTR title with Ricky Starks. Very good match. I'm actually like the feud that they building with them two, with him, with Ricky Starks, Hobbs, and Swerve, as well as Keith Lee. I can't wait for the match between Hobbs and Keith Lee. Now that's a horse fight I'm up for.
Yeah.
Hands down.
And that's the other thing. In that, you know, for whatever reason, Tony Khan does not like rematches, and it's like, dude, I don't know if you understand what a feud is then, because that's basically what a feud is. You know, you can't just have a dude kind of shit talk for a couple of weeks and then have a match and then it'd be over, or have two matches. You know, like feuds used to go, you know, months at a time. Like in '89, Ric Flair had two feuds, completely different and completely different styles. First, he had the feud with Steamboat. Then the second half of the year, it was all Terry Funk, and, you know, both amazing. And I believe he won Wrestler of the Year that year. But both amazing in two separate feuds. But they were like just a bunch of matches, and that's the thing. It's kind of, that's the other thing that's becoming more and more apparent. It's like you're giving us some good shit, and then it ends really quickly. Like, you know, like you said, the last two shows, ever since the pay-per-view, everything's been kind of, you know, flat. And it's like, oh, well, you know, you I guess now you got to rebuild, but it shouldn't be this flat. Like a lot of stuff should still be going on, but it's this weird, we've got the pay-per-view and that was all done, and now we're just going to build up. And it's like, no, some stuff ends and then some stuff continues and some stuff begins anew. It's, you know, I don't understand the logic of, especially if fans want it. You know, like, again, I've you know, we found out recently why the Briscoes have not been on AEW, and I kind of figured out the reason before it was like announced, because I always knew that I was going to come back and haunt Jay Briscoe, some of the tweets he made back in the day. But, you know, you know, it's like like I said, FTR is finally going to get a chance to shine, but everything is way flatter than it needs to be right now. But, and that's the thing, it's like you rush to end stuff and then you don't have anything. When I got to do the whole show shouldn't be rebuilt. There should always be a beginning, a middle, and an end happening, you know, through every period, especially if you're going to have only a few pay-per-views a year, which, again, I like. But, you know, it just kind of, it really does seem flat right now. There's some potential for stuff, but like the Nyla Rose thing, I don't think it's going to last very long. I think it's going to be build up and then a match. The tag team division is still just who gives a shit. I mean, really, it really is.
It really is, actually. Because it's to the point that now we have motherfuckers stealing belts. Because first you had Adam Page, who, while his back turned, gets his title stole. And then I think it was during Rampage. Once again, Dark Order get their ass kicked. Now, Jungle Boy and Jurassic Space get their title stole. Which I'm already smelling what's about to happen. We about to have a 6-man tag with all belts on the line. The winner takes the belts, and
I mean, I would be for that because that would solve everything in one shot, and it's a match that has not.
But we kind of know that if they do it that way, they're not going to take the belt off of Adam Page right now, because it's kind of like Vince Senior with Bob Backlund. When he had opportunity, he could have got the belt off of Bob Backlund.
Hey, can you hear me? I can't hear you right now at this moment.
Yeah. Somebody tried to call.
Oh.
No, that knowing that they're not that big of a draw, he was stubborn because he wanted to prove a point. You feel where I'm coming from? Now, don't get it twisted. Backlund was a pretty good champion. You know, I was a fan of him. But when I think in hindsight, he shouldn't have had that long of a reign. You feel what I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like with Adam Page, I like Adam Page. I like his title run so far, but is it the strongest compared to the other four? No. You know what I'm saying? And they're not helping it by the way that they're booking it, especially against Adam Page and against Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era. Me personally, I wouldn't even put Adam Cole in the match because to me, that's a guy that I would put a belt on down the line. So why would I have him go against and be fed to Adam Page just to what? Because you're trying to bridge a gap, wait till you're ready to throw apparently CM Punk into the mix, because I think CM Punk is next to get the title, to be honest with you.
Well, I think at this point, in order to save Adam Page, they need to get the belt off him, and they need to, because again, they put them into dirt, and I don't like his title run at all, because I think it's like he's the weakest champion they've had. There's no rally, there's no excitement. He looks absolutely ridiculous. They gave him the most ridiculous catchphrase and everything else. And I think, honestly, get the belt off him, fake an injury, let him fall off of TV for like 2 months and bring him back. And again, go back to, like, if you want to keep the Dusty Rhodes style cowboy boots, fine. But go back to the trunks and stop with the cowboy. Again, you're not even from Texas. You're not even from Oklahoma. You're not even from Wyoming.
From Virginia.
From Virginia, and you're a school teacher. And again, your gimmick was never a cowboy. You were the hangman. And they made him a cowboy, and
because to me, it's kind of like the correlation didn't mix. Because to me, I like the hangman gimmick way more because it was more him than what this is. Because I think they did the cowboy shit to try to make it more appealing, which you didn't have to do that. He already had heat as a face walking in.
But not just that. But now you have him hanging out with a bunch of jokers, and now you have him hanging out with a new set of jokers. And it's like, it just, I don't know, man. I don't know whose wife he banged or who had a crush on him, but it's like, it's almost, because it's just such a weak run, and it's like, and again,
someone said, hold on. Someone said Diesel's run was better than his.
Huh?
Someone said Diesel's run was better than his.
You know what? Yeah, because at least Diesel was Diesel. Then he won the title, and then he was still. Diesel didn't win the belt, and then come out the next day like a sailor or a truck, or literally like a truck driver. He didn't come out in a little, I don't know, like a cop or something, and like start pulling his opponents over and giving them tickets or something. It was literally night and day. It's like, here's Adam Page, and now here's Adam Page Cowboy, and the most unrealistic, most ridiculous cowboy. Like, you know, what is he a cowboy of? Shania Twain? You know, like what kind of horses is he herding? Like polo ponies? You know, like I don't like honestly. If he came in riding a horse, I'm not exaggerating. It would look more natural if he was riding a polo pony than if he were riding like a stallion. I'm not even exaggerating. It would look. I'd be like, oh, that looks actually like that makes sense that he's coming in on a polo pony. You know, with clip 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 clip, with his little fucking, with his little bedazzled, you know, chap, you know, tights with the little streamers off the girl's bike. You just click 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 click. You know, it's just, and again, it didn't have to be this way, but they just booked this guy for shit for so long, and I think maybe the idea was to stretch out him winning a little longer and make the turn a little bit, because again they booked him to be a fucking goof, and then maybe they were trying to bring him out, but Kenny was so hurt that they had to kind of hurry it up. But half the shit they've been doing is not like, I don't give a shit. You know who should take the belt off him and then eventually lose to Punk, because I would like to see it, and it's a shame that he has not been a world champion anywhere. Is Dustin? Have you know you could book that program in a few weeks. Have Dustin come out and like a slow build, beat the Hangman. You know, Hangman, or you know, I'm not even going to call him Hangman anymore. Like Cowboy. The Brian Stone Cowboy versus a real Texan, and then give Dustin his moment, let him be champion for like a month, and then have Punk beat him.
Or if nothing else, had Dustin beat, I'd rather seen them feed Dustin to Adam Page than Adam Cole. Because that would have made more sense. Two, Dustin can take the loss, because even to me, by the time Adam Cole get the belt, I'm not even going to be interested. Because I'm like, dude, you lost to Adam Page. You had lost to Adam Page numerous times. Now you're not looking strong, you're looking weak in many ways within this rivalry. You know what I'm saying? Period. Because even to the point that with Red Dragon, like right now, Red Dragon, we should be having I see they trying to build a few with Red Dragon and Jurassic Express, but it's kind of like the build for all of this is, and like put it this way, I compare that build to the way that they're building the tag title match at WrestleMania.
Is a tag title match at WrestleMania?
My point exactly.
But they have, I mean, here's the thing. AEW has, one of their biggest problems is, with the exception of the TV title and the women's title, all their other titles don't mean shit, and they're not important. And it's all because they have it on the wrong people, and they're booking, and even if they have it on the wrong people, they're booking it so poorly. And again, I'm glad Ring of Honor is coming back for a lot of reasons, but one, maybe move some of the guys you're not using over there, but also maybe try to get Rampage to be 2 hours and work a little harder, because it is become blatantly the 1 hour, you know, doesn't really, you can clearly see they're not trying as hard, and make it a 2 hour show to give more room to these guys, because I'm sorry, Jurassic Express, I'm sorry, they had the belts too long. And their tag run doesn't mean anything, because what great rivalry have they had? Jungle Boy's the clear future star, and he's not as big a star as he should be, because he's anchored to this plodding, slow moving, like homunculus. And it just, I don't know. It's just the tag team division, the Young Bucks have, for a tag team that's been basically a tag team their whole career, has really done a shitty job of booking this division, because the tag division is a floating joke, to be honest with you. And
but to me, the tag team division was bumping when them fuckers were champs, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it's
kind of funny. It's kind of like, to me, like this. I get that they don't want to just have the belts all the fucking time, because they don't want the argument that because they VPs that they put the belt on themselves. But at this point in time, you kind of made it to where y'all the most must-see tag team in the division. because it seemed like to me when they were tag champs, I enjoyed watching it to see if somebody gonna beat these fuckers to take the belt off of them because they became the slimy heels that I always liked them to be, that I felt they should be. They should never be faces.
Like, again, the point you've made in the past where there needs to be, and that's the other thing, there's no, it's becoming more apparent, like there's no feuds. There's no feuds anywhere happening, not in pretty much any division. Like, it's like Layla Hirsch and Red Velvet is like a way more intense feud than anything else going on. Like, your tag division has nothing. And if they are in some kind of feud, it has nothing to do with the very division that they're in. And I'm sorry, again, the booking responsibility should be taken away from all the wrestlers and given to somebody else because they're not doing a good
Tony
job.
And issues regardless, but it's kind of like, I think he need to bring somebody in that, okay, like for example, he should bring somebody in that can handle the tag division. Other than what the Young Bucks is. They strictly book for the tag division. They come up with the storylines because you need a feud with the tag champs involved. You need a feud with the number 2 and number 3 ranked teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, that's what I loved about WCW back in the day. Even though you had a feud that involved the tag champs. You had a feud that involved the United States tag champs. You had a feud that involved 2 tag teams that had nothing to do with either one of the belts. Period. And they made it a point to highlight them every single week. Period. So it's kind of like, how is it that these motherfuckers are able to do it? And they was working with 1 fucking hour majority of the time. Because only 2-hour show that they had was actually, back in the day, was actually World Championship Wrestling.
Yeah.
Worldwide Wrestling, and the other one was 1 hour.
Well, and that's the thing. It's about, like the importance of what you're going to do. And again, like, okay, that's part of the reason why you have secondary feuds is to get guys over, keep fans interested, but also your champs. And again, it's easier said than done. This is most definitely armchair booking, but your champ should always be in the mix, always be the center, always being fucked with because they're the champs, and you want the championship because you want to be the best and you want more money. But the other thing is, so that way, okay, so Jurassic Express are in a feud with Red Dragon, then they lose, and now Red Dragon. So there's a couple of rematches, and then they eventually win that feud. So like, who's next for Red Dragon? There should be, and then
somebody set up,
So, sake of argument, it's going to be Private Party. So now it's Private Party and Red Dragon. So there should be something going on with the Bucks in order to put the Bucks next, and that's the thing. Like, there's no long-term booking.
Just like the Bucks walked up to FTR and said, y'all the second best tag team in the company, but yet we haven't seen anything. Because we know this was old school. If a tag team walked to another tag team and said that would have led to a match the next week. Or a brawl right then and there.
And the thing, like the perfect example with the Midnight Express, not only in Mid-South, but when they got to Mid-Atlantic, where, okay, they got in, they had a bunch of matches to get them over. Then they had the feud. The big feud was with Bill Watts and Junkyard Dog and the whole the Last Stampede. And then they had that big crescendo. Oh, I'm sorry. And then they had the feud with Magnum and Wrestling 2. And then that spun off into a sub plot. And then they went and had the feud with then they had the big run with Bill Watts and Junkyard Dog. And then just through talent, and that's the thing, this is where it comes down to the wrestlers to do their thing. Then came the Rock and Roll Express, and then they went to Mid-Atlantic. And then when they went to Mid-Atlantic, Dusty, kept them strong. And then Dusty had a feud with Magnum and Dusty, and they had a main event run. And then guess what? Here comes the Rock and Roll Express. So like, they didn't immediately go into the Rock and Roll Express. They went through, they had all these other tag teams they wrestled, and they had the big feud that summer in, I believe it was 80 or 86 was the Great American Bash tour, where they had, the big fight with, the 86 I think it was the A6 Bash, where they wrestled Dusty and Magnum. Then here comes the big thing with the Rock and Roll Express, and they were tag team champions for a minute, and then so you bring somebody in, you book them strong, and of course fans want to see FTR. They want to see FTR and the Young Bucks, or they want to see Red Dragon and the Young Bucks. And you don't have to give it to them right away, but you have to give them something that's worth watching while you make them salivate. Because wherever the Rock and Roll Midnight went, they drew houses and they set records. And it's one, if I would say, top 3 greatest feuds in wrestling history. But when they both got to a new territory, nobody ever immediately put them together. They gave them the Russians and Magnum and Dusty, and they had different people that they had to deal with, and they had the talent. That's the thing. I'm not even saying the Young Bucks suck, because they don't. They suck as bookers, but there's just, you have Private Party. Now you have the .0, and then you have you have a perfect jobber tag team and the George Goulas gang. Just don't make them that competitive. You have the Varsity Blondes, which quite frankly it's a stupid gimmick, and they scream jobber. I mean, I would pull Pillman out of that, but if you're going to leave him in that, there's another jobber team that you can kind of make look halfway strong, but give people wins. But there's no sense of importance or urgency around the tag titles. And much like Adam Page, ever since the Jurassic Express won, all I can think about is, I don't give a fuck. When are they going to make Jungle Boy a single? He should be called what's his first name? Perry, Jack Perry, like Jungle Boy Jack Perry. And I like the ring of that. Make him your next big up and coming single star. There's a 3-way match I would like to see: Darby Allin, Sammy Guevara, and Jack Perry. But yeah, it's just, there's no. Same thing with the world title. Your 2 world championships don't mean anything because you have them on people that you're not booking well, and who gives a shit? Like, literally every time Adam Page comes out, I know he's trying to tell me, like, I'm pissed, I've come to kick ass. He looks like somebody who, and again, you're kind of a swinger like me. Like, when a guy has an interest in a girl, but he's at a swingers party or he's on set, and the girl is fawning over a different guy or talent, and they kind of have like this boo-boo face, or their feelings are a little hurt. It's like he comes out with that boop, like, come on, why are you being mean to me? Come on, guys. He has that look on his face. I don't buy that he's angry or that he's powering up. And again, the way he's dressed, I can't take him seriously. Same thing with Jurassic Park. It's not the gimmick. It's that this dude is slower than fuck and is not convincing. And Jungle Boy needs to get over. He needs to develop a promo. Your dad was a really good actor, a better actor than he ever got credit for. You should be able to develop. You should be able to develop the talking skills, or find a manager, like a real manager. Find your Jane. I think people in this day and age would buy a hot chick in a jungle outfit if you find the right talker. But it just, there's no sense of importance, and it doesn't, because there's so much good talent. Whether I like them or not, it doesn't matter. Like Private Party 2.0, like there's all this great. The Acclaimed again haven't won shit. I've won more shit, and I've never won shit. I don't know how you do the math at home, but I have won more shit, and I've never won shit than the Acclaimed, and the Acclaimed never won shit. And that shouldn't be. They should be winning shit and be that next up and coming tag team. That should be the big tag team that's causing the fucking agony, and constantly in the hair. They would have been perfect. They would have been the Hart Foundation to their Bulldogs if they would have booked the Acclaim. But now you got to like all this talent that they have: Nyla Rose, the Acclaim, the fucking Brian Pillman. Like you got to give all these guys wins on your real show to make them credible again. So when you say, "Oh, they're a contender," I'm literally not going, "Fuck you." I mean, it's they're stepping up their game, but they're still using the old playbook, and it's like, you guys, your product's evolving for the better. You guys have to fill up these holes or make it look like you're trying, because they're becoming more and more apparent. You have 3 titles that don't mean jack shit. One that's new and it just doesn't mean shit. And you have 2 that are supposed to be your most important because they're your world titles and they don't mean fuck all. They're stuck in the most boring, anticlimactic things. That's why I like your idea about all belts on the line. And here's the thing. You could do something interesting, like if O'Reilly pins Page, he becomes the world champion, and Cole and Fish are the tag champs, or something like that. So there's like, not only do you get the belt off all the people that shouldn't have a belt and put them on guys that could do something with, because Cole could definitely lose to Punk in a couple of months and not have it hurt Cole, but you could do something interesting with that, like have O'Reilly should have been the champion in NXT a while ago, so now maybe and it could create some interesting little weird dynamic there in the group while they have the feud with Omega and Bucks, which is they know is coming. Like, there's stuff you could do. Your idea is very good, and it would solve one hugely massive problem in getting the belts off of like 3 people that are just, steal the belt. I give a shit. The belt don't mean anything. Like, take it. It's like taking a fucking oh no, you stole my jar of pennies. I've been saving for 3 years for that $15 in the jar that you took. Oh no. Also, I never said this, but I hate the way the AEW World Title looks. I can't wait for them to change that belt. That belt is just.
And they made the women's title look just like it.
You know what? If they made, because basically the women's title is the old North American Mid-South title, only a more reasonable size. I would be down for that. I always think all the belts should look different, but the belt doesn't look good on anybody. It's too big. It's too awkward. They need to change it. It looks like, I don't know. I never liked it, and nobody looks good with it. That's just random, but every time I look at it, I go, God, that is ugly. I think if I was competing for it, I would either be like, okay, if I win, do I get to change the belt, or I would just lose? I didn't want to have to lug that thing through the fucking airport.
Yeah, that is a big belt out of this piece.
But it's big for the sake of being big. It just doesn't look good. It just doesn't look. I don't like the way.
Me myself, I do like the AEW belt. I do like it. Now, me personally, I think that unless you're going to make it iconic like that at NWA, at some point you will want to change the way it looks. You feel me?
Yeah.
Because right now, other than any belt, the only belt that have never changed, but maybe a few times been the NWA World Title, period. And to me, I think they were trying to harken back to that Mid-South look or what have you, or even the Missouri heavyweight title when we profiled that last week, But to me, I like the AEW belt, but at some point, I think they would need to change
it. Just something, because again, you guys have athletic wrestlers. You guys have like real wrestlers, and they're normal size guys. Mm-hmm. So if you're gonna have like a large belt, that you need to do a shape like the big gold belt or the old AWA, what they call the prison belt. Then a regular sized guy can wear it and look good, because it doesn't look good. You would have to be literally Andre the Giant to make it look good. And even then, the way it's designed, it just kind of looks ugly. And everything. And the funny thing is, all the other all the AEW belts are actually pretty cool looking. I don't like a lot of the modern style belts that they're putting out there. Even the Ring of Honor's kind of newer titles, I was like, okay, who's designing these? Liberace? Like, what is going on with these belts? but I like AEW's title. It's just they got through 3 women's belts already. Like, they can't switch up the men's at once.
I'm just saying. And so, go ahead.
When I saw the new women's title, I was like, why didn't they do that? I like the newer one they did. And then, like, when I saw the new one, I'm like, why didn't they just do that for the men's? That would have been perfect. That would have gave you the Mid-South look. And somebody like Adam Cole or Punk or even Adam Page could wear it and not look like basically like, oh, I decided to wear my fancy trust out this week. Like, I felt being fancy with my hernia. So yeah, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
No, what I was about to say is, which is interesting, you brought belts, because we about to get off AEW for a second. And programming note: Pro Wrestling Smoke. This. Are we dropping the Pro Wrestling Smoke this Monday?
Well, we haven't recorded because it was a very weird week, and like you said, you've been busy making shows and wheeling and dealing. We can probably record tomorrow because that show's only an hour.
Not going to happen because I am booked up. It probably if we have to do it, it'll be during the week, so we will miss a week. We will miss Monday, but once we record it, we will drop the premium. We will drop it, and it will be. Because if you notice, we're not going to mention too tough about Triple H. We're going to dig deep into that and his career.
Well, we can always make it a longer premium smoke to make up for that because he did have a very long career and basically this is some Machiavellian shit what's going on with his heart and everything. So we could easily do a longer version of the Pro Wrestling Smoke because it is a big. Yeah. It is a big deal. They broke Vince McMahon at WWE broke his heart so hard that he literally had to practically get a new heart and end his career.
They stressed that poor man out, destroying NXT like they did. Gave him a heart attack. Poor
in a weird way, I'm going to try to throw a positive into this mix because not since. Jesus Christ, not since fucking hell. I don't know. I can't even think of a good to pull up a name, but nobody's been railed in the ass harder after doing a good job. One good note is that him and Stephanie, it really must be love because if I don't know. I don't know how diplomatic I could be if my father-in-law was fucking me this hard. I would probably, and again, this is the thing where we don't know what's going on, but they're very tight-lipped on this whole deal. We didn't know what was going on with Triple H until recently. I know she's daddy's girl and she's set to inherit and she's the favorite child, but I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't have it. I'd be like, bitch, I'm your husband and the father of your children. This is where you choose me over dad, and I'm wondering. I really am. I would be, if they actually were going to have her give that answer, I would stay home. I would buy regular cable. I would pay whatever pay-per-view because I'm not sure what the answer would be. When it came down to it, would she choose Triple H or would she her husband and father of her kids, or would she choose Dad?
Yeah, that would be an interesting question, which we probably never get to answer.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If a woman's willing to put up with my ass, I've always been loyal to the women that have been loyal to me when there's because there's a lot of downside to me. So if a woman's willing to sit through all that downside, I would choose my woman or the mother of my kids over my parents. At past a certain point, it's this bitch has no reason to be here. This bitch was told at the gas station, stick to the main road, and she went down the dirt road. This bitch was told, do not stay in that house. Bitch stayed in the house. She fucking, put up, pictures. They said, you don't go to there. Go to that campground. It's haunted. Bitch went there and went camping. That's where loyalty, really needs to be kicked in, and I would pick my mate over my family. Yeah. Especially when you have the money to, eat that, they both are rich. They should never have to work another day in their life. But we'll talk about that on the Premium Smoke. I'm going to go deeper into that because, like I said, that's the thing that's really intriguing me. It's I would go work at McDonald's. I'm not even lying. This is not even me trying to be funny. I would go work at McDonald's and I would clock in 40 hours and still do what I'm doing. But I would do that to make the money to pay to see what goes on behind closed doors, because it just the last 2 years it cannot be great.
Because I know he just said every cuss word it was when he came to Vince, especially the way they butchered NXT.
But that's the thing, did he see? I'm a big believer in people this day and age really are a little too sensitive. I'm a ranter, but I'm somebody I've gotten better at it. if I'm not happy in the situation, I'll wait till I'm in the proper environment. But I find venting or ranting or raving for like 2 minutes and getting it out will inevitably not only save your blood pressure and your stress levels, but once you vent, like if somebody cuts you off or somebody does something that really annoys you, or you're just having a bad day and somebody's pissing you off, if you rant, rave, or just talk to somebody that you know you could trust, that immediately diffuses everything, and then it's like, okay, I'm over it, or I'm now ready to handle it like an adult. I wonder, like, how much can he actually? I know he has friends that he could talk to, like Nash and Pac and Road Dogg and whatnot, but can he really go off on his wife? And also, here's the other thing in a relationship: when somebody is really fucking you, and your partner is either not 100% on board with you and or kind of playing devil's advocate a little too much, that starts to wear. And I'm a very loyal guy. Like, something's in the process and somebody's opening a door for me in my career that if it does get opened and I'm able to step up to the challenge, is going to be massive for me. And I told the guy to his face several times, I said, you don't know it now, but you just made a friend for life. Like, I will help you move a body. I will lie under oath. I will, like, you whatever. I will, if you're stranded on the side of the road in Florida and I'm home in Atlanta, I will drive to the darkest, deepest part of Florida and come get your ass on a moment's notice. So I'm like loyal. So I'm always wary. I'm always kind of taking notice of when people say certain things, or if they're not 100% on board with you. It taxes a relationship, because you're only good as your team.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, let's get off of AEW. And we're going to take a detour before we even head to WWE. First off, because now we're going to talk a little NWA shit. But even before I get to the modern NWA, this is funny as fuck. Because I'm sitting here scrolling on our page, right? And I had to retweet this. And I had to bring this up because I'm sorry. I remember this episode. I remember this moment in professional wrestling history. One of the actually made me emotional and cried that my grandmama had to console me. And this is on this day, Telly Blanchard tacked Magnum TA. This was the day that we saw Dusty lose it. Dusty Rhodes lose it. And let me tell you this. If I was a guy who trained wrestlers on promo, on emotion, I would make these motherfuckers watch this shit. Because, so people can understand what happened. This around the time after Magnum TA came back after his accident that put him out of wrestling. And of course, it was a beef with the Horsemen. And I think previous show, Dusty was handed a bat by Magnum TA. So Magnum TA comes out to explain his side of the story. So while he's talking, Telly Blanchard comes out. And we all know that this is what I mean by feuds, rivalries. This is what's missing in today. This is what we were talking about with AEW. Understand this. Even with Magnum TA cannot wrestle, the hatred between him and Telly Blanchard still existed. To the point that Telly Blanchard came out with J.J. Dillon and confronted Magnum TA. And was getting in Magnum TA's face. Now I'm going to tell you how cool this is. I know Dusty booked this. He sends out Barry Windham to try to cool it down. Telly strucks Barry. And then, of course, JJ holds Magnum TA. And, of course, Tully strucks Magnum TA, which brings a very pissed off. I repeat the word, never in my life seen Dusty pissed off Dusty Rhodes with a baseball bat. And he went.
I remember this, yeah. And I actually showed somebody like a couple months ago, like that's with everybody working a bat. I'm like, that's how you work a bat.
Yes.
And I think Dusty got suspended because he whacked like Crockett or something.
Yeah, Crockett came out. No, Crockett came out and tried to stop him, and he just knocked Crockett out. You know what I'm saying? And it was just funny because even to the point that you saw, I'm sitting there watching this shit now, yo. Tully just going at it. they did wreck shop. Then out of nowhere, the Dream. She went for the back. She went for the back, baby. And she was swinging it. I'm talking about giving it to him.
Yeah, I mean, and it was realistic. I'm sure he was pulling his swing, but I mean, you could tell like when, you know, the way he was jabbing him and hitting them with it, you know. And that's the thing, like you said. That's
and
what
you got Bill Abner there. That what made it so cool. The people didn't realize Bill Abner was in the building at the time.
That's why we were talking, like you said, like why feuds are so important. Like the Rock and Roll Express were a great tag team and a money draw, but and the Midnight Express were my favorite tag team, but they were legends today because of like the feuds that they had, and it's mainly because nobody ever got tired of that match. They could have taken that feud to the WWF. They could take it to the AWA. Magnum and Tully, in my opinion, one of the best cage matches ever was their one at Starrcade. Macho Man and Steamboat, Ric Flair, Steamboat, Ric Flair, Dusty, Ric Flair, Terry Funk, Ric Flair, fucking, you know, Randy Savage. Feuds make wrestlers, and here's the more important thing: they make memories.
Yeah,
and memories of what keep wrestling fans coming back, and nostalgia. Like wrestling, and again, we covered it, I believe, in the premium. I believe, or if it was on the regular show, Wahoo. No, it was Ode to the Old School, so it was a regular show. But Wahoo, the feud with Johnny Valentine, that changed several territories. And they didn't do anything different. They just stood in the middle of the ring and beat the living fuck out of each other. So feuds are very powerful for not only, you know, keeping things, you know, drawing money, but like it becomes the stuff of legends, you know, and people who saw that.
Because even with the Dusty Rhodes, now it made you want to go see the match between him and Tully.
Yeah.
Even more. Because even to the point that it was like he knocked out Crockett. So everybody checking on Crockett. Now, mind you, this when Sting, you got 5 people. I'm seeing Sting, I'm seeing Lex Luger, I'm seeing goddamn Jimmy Garvin trying to get Dusty Rhodes off of Tully, and he's choking him with the bat, and they can't get this dude loose. And see, that's what I mean by back in the day, professional wrestling invoked emotion, not like today. It's like, you know what I'm saying? That was the reason why, because wrestling was built to put butts in seats. It wasn't built to make people watch TV. You know, period.
And it was. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What you about to say?
No, like and you know, like I tell people that wrestling is not fake; it's predetermined, and part of it is like the CM Punk MMA experiment is literally the best example, because if MMA were slightly rigged, you know, Punk would have won one of those matches so that his career could keep going. They kind of knew that, like, wrestling could still be real, and guys also, up until recent history, I would say the early 90s, were all kind of shooters or tough guys. So if anybody got cute, you can handle yourself, because there were double crosses. But they knew that, like, okay, we have this. Actually, I can't remember the name, but there was a guy who was like a big draw babyface, but he wasn't a shooter. And of course, they had another guy who was also a draw, but not as big as his babyface. And he shot in and beat him and double crossed him, killed everything they had going, cost everybody money. So they knew, you know, like, okay, we could control the narrative, and we can, you know, and talent win overall. And if we have to take something off somebody, we could do that. But they knew, like, that's how you draw money. You know, like, that's why Flair and Steamboat went on forever. That's why, you know, the Anderson brothers versus any tag team in the Carolinas went on forever, because they could control the story, because that's really the point of wrestling. It's a blue-collar story. Yeah. And athleticism is nice, but again, everybody does the same moves, so they're not special. No, and I don't really have an emotional attachment at all to like the Bucks or Omega, or, you know, great. They have good matches and whatever, athletic, but like with CM Punk, there's a little bit of Daniel Bryan, like with Ric Flair, and I'm trying to think of a wrestler that's still going. There's a storytelling, so you get invested in the person and the things they've been through, and that is, like you said, the key. The art of wrestling is the psychology, and the thing that memories and emotion and getting you into it, and a lot of again, you could still do it today. It's just these guys got to worry a little less about getting their shit in, and and sell that and get that emotion in there.
Yeah. So now, since we talked about the NWA, recently they have crowned their junior heavyweight champion, who happens to be Homicide. And first of all, if you haven't seen the belt, damn it, AEW, pay fucking attention to fucking NWA. Their belts are gorgeous, okay? They took the 1960 version of the NWA belt, world title, and they updated it to make it a junior title, and that thing is beautiful. It is beautiful. And what's interesting is I watched the junior heavyweight title match between him and Austin Aries, and what I like is it's a junior heavyweight match, not a cruiserweight match, so people can understand the difference. Junior heavyweight matches were they wrestled. There was no high flying. They actually did wrestling. These guys didn't do much high flying, if any, maybe because they're just the NWA. Now, if this was a cruiserweight division and it was the WWE, you'd be seeing a whole bunch of spot fests. No spot fests here. Just straight up wrestling, brawling, and fighting. Which I actually like, because sometimes you get sick and tired of it's a cruiserweight match, they're going 100 miles an hour. Maybe because these are older gents who are a little bit more experienced or what have you. But to me, I actually like the junior heavyweight division because they're not focused on the athleticism. It's more focused on the wrestling. It's just a smaller weight.
Yeah, and you are correct. It actually is a beautiful belt. And ironically, the NWA has really lost a step. I think they're trying to kind of get back the momentum they lost by having Matt Cardona be there.
But surely, though, I can't front. They're getting it back slowly but surely, because I think Matt Cardona has really helped them.
Oh yeah, that's what I was about to say. They're trying to get their momentum going again by having somebody like Matt Cardona as a champion. And again, their belts are way cooler. They're tagged, their U.S. or national title, and now this one, I really like it. So yeah, it's funny. They got the market cornered on the belts, and this belt design is really so pretty. I might have to add this to the eventual replica collection I would like to have, because again, I don't have the money or the time or the resources to track down real belts that are actually touched and used in matches. Guys you got to have Conrad Thompson money and the level of connection and whatever. So I kind of the Missouri title, the old NWA TV title, the old Globe Dome NWA title. I like the old tag belts, the NWA tag belts. Basically, all the belts that the NWA currently are using, and now this junior one. These are ones that I would have and I would get eventually when I have that kind of money to burn, because a good replica is going to cost you a couple $100. Just because I again, it's a memory. I know they're not the real belts. I know that they're never going to be in a match, but it's just something about again, the memory, and those memories come from the matches, the feuds, and the personality of the wrestler. And again, a little bit of haha is okay, but there's just a little too much, and people trying to be cute and wink of the eye while being a wrestler. And it's again, this is not theater camp. If you want to be weird and artistic, like Danhausen is doing a lot of weird, even though he hasn't really done shit since he's been in AEW, but he's doing weird original shit. But it all makes sense. When he gets in the ring, that's not picking on AEW or NWA. It's been improving, but yeah, it's kind of a little less, I guess, to quote Homer Simpson, a little less artsy and more partsy. Give me give me a reason why you're mad, or and so on, and like you could take somebody like Sonny King and or Sonny Kiss. I'm sorry, take Sonny Kiss and put him in a blood feud with somebody and have it make sense. It doesn't have to be about like his sexuality. It could be about any number of things, and you can, it's just you have to know how to tell the story, and the way you get to learn how to tell a story is by trying to tell any story. It doesn't involve 55 flips.
Yeah, because they match be having real good, and also the other part, because we were talking about tag team division. What I like about the NWA is that they do put folks in the tag team division. Every week you get a tag team title, a tag match. Every week is something to do to build towards a tag team and to set up the tag titles or feuds, what have you. You have multiple feuds going with different tag teams. So it's like the NWA, they're slowly starting to catch their stride again, for what I'm saying.
Again, the things I would change from what I've seen is go down again. No offense to Velvet Sky, I liked her as a wrestler, but she is not a good announcer.
Aiden is less to be desired. I'll be honest with you.
Like two-man booth, and also you need one air. You don't need to have them like a. Get rid of the HR huffing puffing whatever sign. Get rid of that. Have the announcer stand at the desk. And then people go over for an interview, like not two locations, one location. And yeah, like again, liven that crowd up. And actually it's funny because I usually have wrestling on in the studio while I'm, whatever. And I usually it's older school stuff, or it's like the current AEW product, but I'm watching the Jim Cornette Mid-Atlantic collection, and it's a lot of tag team wrestling. Because it's all stuff from like house shows from like 74, 75 and beyond. And I've seen several matches in the 70 or 80 minutes we've been doing the show. It's the era of Valentine and Flair. And they've been, and there's matches going on with the Andersons and Snuka and Orndorff. And the majority of and then like Aunt Ole and Wahoo. And it's been going on. It's been more or less the same match or the same wrestlers, like whatever, having matches, and they're all a little different, and they're all serious, and and again, it's our house shows. It's the 70s, it's the South, so there's like blood, but it's not good. It's not over the top. But these guys are having the same matches with the same guys, and the matches all look a little different. And these guys today. And that's the thing that kind of drives you at the wall. Like I'm not trying to do with Jim Cornette, where Jim Cornette just wants to immediately disqualify all these guys because they're not doing something right away. All these guys have like Jungle Boy or the Acclaimed and the Bucks have the talent to have matches against each other all the time and make the matches look different and keep people interested. Is that one, you're not forcing them to do it. And you are the promoter, and you can control how they do things, and you're not really giving them a chance. You're not inspiring them to do this. And I know they're not doing house shows, and hopefully, eventually, I think that will help the overall product when they're able to do more than one show a week, because that's where the guys really get to cut loose and discover what they do. But there's no reason why any of these younger guys today can't have long 8-month feuds with the same people and they have the talent to just either not challenge to do it, or like I would make it a priority. It's like, if you want to be one of my top people, you have to have the ability to feud, like Jordan Grace versus Lady Frost. It's like, okay, the next 6 months you two are literally married to each other, and house shows and TV matches and like tags, and people are going to get involved and de-involved and everything for the next 6 months. That is you two. And, if you don't like it, I hear NWA is hiring, and I think they need to be pushed. You have the talent. It's there. It's just, and again, we're not saying do old NWA shit all the time. Just watch some old stuff, regardless of what it is, and put your modern spin on it. I mean, I think if video games can make fucking the Mario Brothers still relevant today with all these new video games, you guys can easily take some old shit and make it new again and make it, AEW, or you can make it NWA, or whatever.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, the other question I want to ask before we get on to the WWE shit is what been making news lately has been control your narrative. And I've been hearing about their rules. What do you think about the control your narrative wrestling promotion and what they're trying to do?
I have heard little things like, first they said they were going to get a TV deal, and then they're going to be on some internet thing or app.
Pro wrestling TV.
I didn't even know that was. And also, then they said something about. Like they hired Austin Aries, which again, and you said Aries earlier. It's like I don't know why anybody would hire Aries at this point, because the guy just cannot do business, and he's like famously just ridiculously difficult to deal with. And when he doesn't get his way, he's a modern day Thunderbolt Patterson. And so that's one signing. And also, it's a stupid name. It's a stupid fucking name. So that name has no legs. So even if this does come off successful, you're gonna have to rebrand, because just like TNA, or like even All Elite, it's good. I mean, I think if they keep calling it AEW and whatever, eventually one day the Bucks and Omega are going to be gone. You could still use All Elite, but some of these wrestling names, it's like you realize you're wrestling. I'm not saying it's got to be all be like it just it's a terrible name. So it's like
actually, because I can understand the name for a pay-per-view. But for that to be a wrestling promotion, and then I was reading the rules, it was saying that, of course, they have fights and sanctioned matches. So I was like, okay, so y'all basically try to be somewhat different than everyone else and everything. And it's kind of like, I don't know. To me, it's kind of like they're reaching. I have to see the product before I can make a final assumption. But to me, I'm just not necessarily feeling it from the name, even to how they even promoting it or how it's being set up.
And here's the other thing. EC3 is somebody who's been getting bounced around.
Yeah.
And Braun Strowman, I mean, this is a guy who was always a WWE. He's not like a wrestler, in my opinion. He's a WWE guy, and by his attitude during the pandemic, that still kind of sticks in my craw. So we're going to see. But here's the other thing. When you become the boss, even if you're trying to be fair to the boys, at the end of the day, you're still the boss, and it's a totally different game. Like, Seth God damn it. He did. Is it Seth MacFarlane? He did Spawn. Yeah, it's Seth. No, hold on a second. He did the Spawn comic book, and he created Venom, and he was like the guy in the 90s.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. I can't believe it. I'm a comic book nerd, and I can't believe I'm fucking blanking on this guy's name. And you
talking about
Todd McFarlane.
Todd McFarlane, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing was, he basically was just a whirlwind in the early 90s. Had a very distinct style and storytelling. He created Venom. His run in Spider-Man and the Hulk and everything is legendary. I mean, I wish I had the original individual comics, and just through misfortune lost them. But I mean, they're worth hundreds of dollars, and they're still worth money and everything. And he basically got tired of not owning everything, because you work on Spider-Man or like Spawn, you create Spawn, but Marvel owns it. So he started his own company, Image, and then eventually he got sued by several people, because of his toys and the comic book, because then all of a sudden the guy who was so adamant about artist rights and everything basically started becoming meet the new boss, same as the old boss kind of mentality, and he got sued by some people. over creative control. Like, I want to eventually start my little studio, Pizza Bed Studios, and I've already decided, with the exception of a very, very small group of people, it's like I already know how I'm gonna approach the talent. That I'm gonna think of an idea, and who's gonna be good for it. I'm gonna approach you. These are the things you like. This is what I need from you. This is, like what you'll get, and so on and so forth, and yada yada yada, and you'll be informed of everything up, and treat you very well. But at the end of the day, you have to complete these things in order for it to count as work completed and get paid at the end of the day. And then after that, you have no rights ever because I'm paying you, and that's how it works in porn. And I'm going to be upfront about it. But these guys are talking about control your narrative. I'm like, that's all well and good, but when you guys start promoting and you're running the show, and I'm sure you're also going to be wrestling as well as booking, it's going to be interesting, like how, how is this going to go about? Are you going to be able to kind of remember that mission statement of control your narrative especially when you got somebody who's a known troublemaker like Austin Aries? I would rather lose money the first 3 years of running a promotion than hire Austin Aries, because just from what I've heard from a bunch of different resources, this dude, as good as he is in the ring, it is not worth dealing with him at all. And apparently just a genuinely miserable human being.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious, because his life, I mean, he's not poor, and people are still booking him. I don't look,
I can't say I'm curious to see what happens, but then again, I'm a wrestling fan, so of course I'm gonna pay attention and watch. So, with that being said, we're about to take a commercial break, and after this commercial break, we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk WWE, because I just found out what the new name of the unified title is going to be, and we're going to discuss that after the break.
Oh, Christ.
Hey, do you enjoy the pro wrestling punditry that we're giving you on Pilgrim on Wrestling? Well, guess what? You can get some extra pro wrestling punditry, as well as a deeper dive into pro wrestling. I'm talking about Pro Wrestling Smoke, a premium podcast on the premium smoke room on the lounge for $4.99 a month. One of 5 podcasts that you get to enjoy, and I'm talking about weekly. So subscribe to the premium smoke room and check out Pro Wrestling Smoke, where me and Billy, we gets it in, and we discuss and debate different topics, from the prettiest and the best looking belt of all time to modern wrestling, the territory days, old school, what have you. He's the history, I'm the modern. So subscribe for $4.99 a month to the Premium Smoke Room and check out Pro Wrestling Smoke. Now, smoke that over.
And we're back from commercial break.
Yep. All right, so now we're getting to that part of the show where you try to get me angina. So exactly. So what is Bobo Vince going to?
Okay, now we know we're having a unification match for the Universal and the WWE title, and of course it's going to become one belt, one name. Now I'm curious how they're going to do this, because we've been treated to having 2 different belts on 2 different brands for the past decade almost. So the last time we seen a unification of any kind was when Brock Lesnar won it. And which is funny that he's in this match. He was the last one to be the undisputed champion. Well, the name of this one will be the Undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Why can't you just say the WWE World Title?
How about onomatopoeia? How about like the onomatopoeia title, or supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, chitty chitty bang bang, spoonful of bullshit makes the fucking what we call wrestling go down smoother title.
Look, I'm about to have a rant for a second, so I just need the floor. Look, make me take my glasses off. I can't wait till we start doing video, which will be next month, so y'all get to see our facial expression and everything. What I liked about what New Japan did when they unified, even though it made no sense to unify the Intercontinental title and their championship, they just went ahead and said the New Japan World title. WWE does not want to say world title for no apparent fucking reason at all. We're not in the universe. You're not doing matches on the moon or going against the Gleeks from the planet Wook Wook in wrestling matches. I do not understand Universal. I never understood anyone ever use Universal for a championship name. Now I can understand like the Universal Wrestling Federation. Okay, I get that. But still, at the end of the freaking day, what's wrong with saying world heavyweight champion or world champion? I'm like, Vince, I understand you fucking hate professional wrestling with all your fucking being. I get that. But even your father fucking rolled over his grave and said, who the fuck did I give my company to? The undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Why don't you just go ahead and tell us that Roman win in the match? Just go ahead and tell us that.
Go ahead. We all know because that's who should win it. But it's just like, and actually, that's the other thing I meant to give shit to AEW about. No, I'm sorry, I was mistaken. I was watching some old WCW, and Jim Ross said medical facility. You know, it's like that that stupid language. You can't say hospital. Well, that's where you go when something bad happens. You can't say strap. Like, again, it's the logic of you're a wrestling company, so you're rich, and your kids and your grandkids and your great grandkids and everything else are never going to have to actually worry or try in life because of wrestling. Because of guys getting in a car, driving 500 miles to go beat the shit out of each other, and then get back in the car and drive another 700 to get out of the car and beat the shit out of each other. I know who the fuck you are because you are a wrestling company, and he does everything in his power at all times to disrespect and piss on the very thing that's making him money, because he somehow thinks by being it while being it is not it's like, again, it's like these people, it's like being in the porn industry, but you're like bashing porn, but then you're working for the biggest companies and get the biggest paycheck, but you're gonna shit talk. It's like, okay, again, if you don't want to be a porn company, if you don't want to be a porn star, then don't do fucking porn. If you leave, I don't give a fuck who you are. If you leave tomorrow, the industry goes on. If the WWE crashes and burns tomorrow, ironically, not only would the world go on, but the wrestling world, I'm gonna say right here, and there's not a goddamn thing you could say, or Dave Meltzer, Jim Cornette, and Brian Last, fucking John Cosper, or anybody else say change my mind. If the WWE went out of business tomorrow, the wrestling world would be a better place, because another company would kind of come out of it, or like MLW or the NWA would just blow up, because all that talent would go somewhere else, and all the intellectual property they own, all those libraries would probably wind up either in Tony Khan's hands or somebody that would actually do something.
Tony Khan buying that up quick.
Like if the WWE were gone tomorrow, it'd actually be an improvement, on the wrestling world. So, it's just this more like weird, dumb language, and they get away with it because the fans that they have think that's what you're supposed to do, and ironically, I heard something. It had to be Bruce Pritchard that they were quoting, because of the way that the statement was said. But I guess they're going through with the Cody Big Mistake Rhodes is going to wrestle Seth Rollins, and I can't wait for him to have a feud with the Apex Albatross, and then his career is really going to be buried. But But T-shirt trademark. But the other thing is that okay, they're going to push this through, and they're saying, I don't know, something about it not happening or whatever. It's like, oh, that's just silliness, and it's this weird attitude when they're dealing with wrestling reporters. And it's like and here's the thing: there's nothing about the WWE product. There's nothing about the majority of the WWE wrestlers that they have, and I'm using air quotes right now. I guess we're doing video next month. You'll be able to see me do air quotes, and you can see my contempt in real time. But for them to take like this snotty high road, like, oh, that's just silliness, is laughable on a level that it's bad comedy, because there's nothing about WWE product. It's McDonald's sells more hamburgers than anybody. They're the worst fucking hamburgers. Just because you sell the most hamburgers doesn't mean they're good or even the best. WWE makes a lot of money, and then that's it. Like, that's all really they're good at. Their wrestling product is a fucking joke upon a bad pun wrapped in a distasteful limerick. It is just, for them to take this snotty attitude, it's like, motherfucker, if you didn't have these WWE fans to tune into your bullshit every day, you fuckers would be in ever deepening shit. It's like you need to not have any attitude, because if I didn't have this show, I wouldn't even know WrestleMania was fucking coming up. I wouldn't watch WrestleMania if you fucking paid me. I mean, it's like the attitude that they have and the way they treat everything. It's, what it is. It's like I've dated and been with insanely beautiful women and brilliant women, and I'm not saying that like in a bragging way. I'm like saying, like, I was amazed that it happened, and I was amazed when it was happening. And like I've turned to many a beautiful, accomplished woman that I have been with or dated and said, you realize that, like, when we go to bed, like, there's not going to be like a cut and then like a stunt cock's going to come in. It's like, you're going to be fucking me, right? Like, you understand that, right? And they think I'm joking. I'm like, I'm not joking. Like, I mean, like, you realize, like, you're cognitive, right? You're awake. Okay. It's like, but I've also, been insulted by wildly unattractive, ugly, dumb women, and they have this attitude of like, oh, I would never date somebody. I'm like, good, thank you. I'll put you on my Christmas list. I actually said, and I did one year. I actually said thank you, and I actually sent the bitch a Christmas card, because, like, thank you for not, thank you there, Gargamel, for not wanting to fuck me. I appreciate the love. It's like, so that's what WWE. WWE is this like smushy, pudding shaped woman that, like the kind of woman that wears a lot of spandex. It shouldn't, but that's how her body shape is the shape that the spandex pushes the pudding into, and her hair always looks like it's just undone, even when she just had it done, and just has a face of like she's turtling. Like, she just has a constant look on her face like she's turtling, and then she'll sit there and act like, oh, I would never fuck you. You're not to my standards. I'm like, okay, we don't do the metric system in this. Like, what fucking measurement are you using that your standards like don't include me? Because quite frankly, Lynch has a better chance of getting a date with me on Saturday night than you do. So it's like, I think it's great that you have so much self-esteem. Obviously pulled off from nothing, but that's like what the WWE product is this fat, ugly, unattractive girl or guy, bald, fat, hairy back, loser guy living in this basement, hitting on a hot chick, that makes like $100,000 a year, and they're acting like, oh, you want this. I'm like, no. And again, that's a true story. I sent the bitch a fucking Christmas card. And the only reason I didn't send her a thank you card immediately was like a bunch of shit happened that day and I forgot. And then I was reminded, I don't know, whatever. And I just bought a bunch of Christmas cards and sent them out. And I actually sent one to her. And, and I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but I wrote a snotty little note. But it's like, motherfucker, just because Cody Rhodes is hell bent on fucking up his own career, the only reason why I'm watching your stupid, crappy main of 2-day event that shouldn't even be 2 days. It's because I now have a job that I like 99% of the time, and you're the 1% that I don't like. I'm doing it because I have to do a show. Like, your shit is terrible. Like, you need to be thanking everybody. You're the ugly girl that you are the mercy fuck. You're not mercy fucking us. You are the mercy fuck. You're the mercy watch. You know, I mean, it just boggles the mind that, you know, they literally talk as much shit as they do. It's like you're McDonald's, and to be honest with you, you're not even a good McDonald's.
And then on top of that, more of the bill this week. Well, lack thereof, you want to be honest. And let's just go ahead and talk about the lovely and wonderful Ronda Rousey. People, please don't give her a mic no more. I'm sorry for all the press that she have done for UFC. You can't do a better promo than that crap that you did in the ring. And what's funny is I think that originally they weren't going to put Flair on the screen, but I think they had no choice because that promo was falling flatter than a flat tire that rolled over one of those spike.
Yeah,
those spike
the police spikes. Yeah.
I was sitting there like, where's this going?
I think because you're not letting her be herself, and also Ronda, for as fucking a badass as she is, and the absolute trained killer that she wants to be liked, and she wants to be adored unconditionally. Anytime she can't handle losing for real, because she was raised to be just a winner on a level that most human beings can't comprehend. Like we talked about it, her mom. As much a badass as Ronda Rousey is, her mom is beyond terrifying. I'm not afraid to fight any man. I've survived attempted murder. I'm not afraid of conflict or violence. I wouldn't fight Ronda Rousey's mother with a gun and a bat. That bitch could kill a man without even getting out of a chair. She's a tiny woman. And Ronda is, emotional. She wants to be loved and liked. And I think this go around, she's not being herself. Ronda Rousey is a bully. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be mean about Ronda, but Ronda is a bully, and bullies beat the fuck out of people, and then they pout and run and cry and sob, and and oh no, the world's ending when they lose. And she's a bully, so you gotta let her be a bully. I'm not saying she's a horrible person, but she's a fucking bully because she was raised.
Yeah, because her demeanor does not speak face to me.
But she's not meant to. No, she's definitely a better heel because she is a legitimate badass and she can back up all the shit talk she's got. But the WWE, Ronda is going to make money, so she has to be a babyface. And again, when the fans boo her, they don't realize, like, well, bitch, you're doing your job. That's why we're paying you so much money. They're booing you, and they all telling you to go fuck yourself. That's.
See, she sounded like the dude. She sounded like the dude from Heels, the younger brother.
Yeah.
That he didn't see that he was better off as a heel than a face, especially after he was crying in the ring. And so, it kind of with Ronda, it's like one they kind of put it. They kind of booked themselves in the corner because they made her have to go against Flair, which you can't turn Flair face. Because even if you try to make her a face, people still gonna boo her as a heel.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, I'm sorry, but and here's the funny thing. From all accounts, interviews and just how, and like people, people that aren't wrestlers or like higher ups, all by all accounts, Charlotte is a very nice woman in real life and very polite and very ingratiating to people, which usually means they make a great heel.
Yeah.
And it's ironic because in wrestling, the nicest, sweetest people make the best heels, and the biggest assholes that you'd ever want to talk to make the best baby faces. And again, Ronda. Again, not saying Ronda's a horrible person, but she was raised to be a winner, and you had to be mentally tough and kind of a bully because in judo, especially if you compete internationally, being an American
you're going to
is
get me
really, really tough. Like, you have to be a vicious fuck because there's an open bias towards American judokai. So you have to, like, the fact that Kayla Harrison won 2 gold medals back to back at the Olympics. I mean, not only is she just the best judo practitioner in the U.S., but just an absolute badass. And could, I mean, she had to be, you have to be literally better than everybody, and tough and mean just to get through the shit before you even get on the mat. And so Ronda is a bully. She should be a bully. Let her go out there and, like, because she can't kill anybody. Let her go out there and fuck people up, and then eventually you have one baby face fight from underneath. But again, they gotta take the teeth out of her, make her a baby face so she could wrestle Charlotte, and then whoever's gonna win, it's probably gonna be Ronda because again. But I'm sure Charlotte will get another title soon because they also want to keep Charlotte happy. Because if Charlotte leaves, then they're really, 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 really fucked. That is one of the. No, go ahead.
Because even to me, I would have thought that they would have put her with Becky. But like I said before, because then you can make Becky the face and have Ronda the heel. Because people will turn face for Becky faster than they even would with Flair.
I think with Becky and Charlotte, there's some genuine riff between them, so I think they're keeping them apart because there's because here's the funny thing: there's literally again, they're both now super top. Because, before when they were friends, Charlotte was Becky was doing good, but she wasn't at Charlotte's level. And then she got to Charlotte's level, and maybe even, while she was in the height of being the man, she kind of surpassed Charlotte a hair as far as being a top woman or top wrestler. And now they're both big name tops, and there can only be one person at the top, even, no matter how many brand splits WWE tries to have. And, I think they're trying to keep people away from them, and yeah, it's I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's it's a thing of, I think it would make a better match. Is what I'm trying to say. Sorry, it would make a better match because there's some actual real life animosity, but WWE is so sterile and so controlling that it's like, well, this would actually be good and draw actual money. No, the fans would love it. No. Or if eventually when we give it to them, we're going to take all the fun out of it and turn it into dry humping, and nobody's going to really want to see it.
But see, of course, also we have, I'm trying to think of everything. Of course, when we mentioned the undisputed WWE Universal title.
Onomatopoeia.
Yeah, pretty much. The ongoing feud between, of course, Brock Lesnar. We watched that today. Last week, Brock, of course, did the truck thing. This week, he basically destroyed the office or the locker room of the champ. And now we have Acknowledge Me Roman Reigns now becoming a cowardly heel within the midst of this damn fucking feud, which is mind-blowing to me because I'm like, you had built this dude up to be a badass. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, and he has it clicked. So it's kind of like now even when that Undertaker was a heel, the Undertaker, how can I put this? His cowardly makes sense. The cowardly here doesn't make sense.
Again, I mean, the AEW makes your mistakes with consistency, but I think it's a different way they make, or different reasons. WWE just, there's no logic. It's like, if Vince McMahon one week will say nobody can bleed, absolutely no circumstances, nobody can bleed. And then just because in his head it'll make sense, or that it'll, goddamn, pal, it'll be the greatest match ever. There'll be blood everywhere. He'll be like a goddamn, it'll be like the junior girls' locker room when they're cycling. It'll be everywhere. And next thing you know, it's like Abdullah versus the Sheik at the beginning of WrestleMania, the main event of WrestleMania, to the point where like they're woozy, it just, there's no rhyme or reason. That's the one thing. At least with AEW, we can sit here and play armchair booking and determine like what's going to come next, because there is, even at its worst moments, there's a sense of logic happening, or their attempted logic. WWE is a bunch of hack writers that really have no business being writers or being in the wrestling business. A bunch of fucking ballish yes men, with Laurinaitis and Bruce Pritchard, and then one guy who is literally, if he gave him a shotgun, and some overalls, he'd be that crazy. Get off my land, to hang up on the front porch. And it's just like whatever he determines that day, it's going to be, well, this is what I say is going to be the thing. Just like, I just imagine him like Roscoe P. Coltrane from Dukes of Hazzard. He just comes out there every, like Monday Night Raw, they got the show all planned. He just comes out there. I'm going to kill you. We're going to go out there and you're going to dress like teddy bears, and then you're just going to claw at each other, and then you're going to like kill each other, call each other different candy bars, and then you're going to beat the shit out of each other. And then next week, we're all going to reenact Little Miss Tuffet. And it's going to be a great. And that's basic, and they all have to sit there because, Vince pays well to certain people. So they're all just, oh, that's great. Yeah, teddy bears. Roman Reigns calling Brock Lesnar a Baby Ruth. It's all, the fans are going to love it. And it's going to be great. And sure, why not? And it's just, and then the next day, they bought all the fucking teddy bear outfits. And then Vince will walk in and go, well, what's with all the with the teddy bears? Goddamn, pal. Teddy bears don't belong in wrestling. We're like, okay. Then they're gonna be in a Frogger death match where they just gotta like try to get to the ring, and then gonna have all the cars and little bumper cars, and just try to hit Brock Lesnar in the ankle, and he'll lose. And it's just whatever comes out of his ever shriveling, bloodshot, soupy-eyed fucking head.
But Casey, to me, they're trying to make Brock Stone Cold. Because it's kind of, they going with that same path. The attacker with the forklift. I guess ever since he decided to wear a cowboy hat, they say, hey, I think we can make him a Stone Cold type character, because that's how they kind of portraying him right now. The only thing he's missing is him drinking the beers.
I mean, Brock, you've been only paying Brock multiple millions of dollars for like 10 minutes of work for the last couple of years, and sacrificing your entire roster and brand and the integrity of the company around the guy. And he's been doing the same thing. And again, it's been making him multiple millions. And apparently it makes you some kind of money because you shit on everybody that's not Brock Lesnar. And now you're going to turn him into something else. So sure, why not? Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, but if I run a company and Big Tip Blondes bought me my dream house and then a beach house in an apartment in New York City, I'm sorry. I'm not going to tell the Big Tip Blonde, you should wear a red wig. Or you ever thought about a breast reduction? Like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The Rock and Roll Express never changed. And they just did what the Rock and Roll Express did. And sure, there were times where it wasn't as cool, but it came back around. And, the Rock and Roll Express are in their 60s. I know they're getting ready to really retire, or at least one of them is. But, people would probably, if they were like 79, people would pay to see the Rock and Roll Express still wrestle because it's a Rock and Roll Express. Brock Lesnar, you've been selling this guy the same way for years. Fucking, if you're going to change something, make him go back to his old gear when he first started. Make him go back to something. But other than that, like, leave the fucking guy alone. It's, again, whatever comes out of his batshit syphilis written head, he's like he looks like one of those puppets from the 80s. I can't remember the guy's name, but he did these music videos like with Genesis and these weird, ugly ass puppets. I'll post a picture of it on the Twitter after the show, or I'll try doing it during the show. And then, he's like Ross Perot. He's just sitting there and everybody's talking about one thing and he just pops his head up and just like, yeah, oh, nobody's allowed to wear wrestling boots. And then like puts his head down and, then they tell everybody, then or he pops up and goes, everybody needs to have a pet. Like everybody, like, yeah, every wrestler has to come out with a pet. And just, it's like, what's crazy grandpa going to do this week? And no one has, again, they all just take the paycheck. So, I don't know. It's Vince. I mean, again, Vince needs to go, or somebody needs to Ted Turner his ass and take him out of power and put him in a corner office and tell him like, sure, whatever you say there, you don't matter anymore. And with Stephanie, I think if she took it over tomorrow, I don't know what again, like the con guy, he seems to have the run, and this fucking idiot, I wouldn't let him mow my lawn. Yeah, I get it. I guess his job is to generate income and profits, which when you treat everybody like garbage and pay them nothing and basically fire everybody and it literally cut the roster to the point where you can't even have a 30-woman Royal Rumble. With your active roster.
Literally can't. Like, literally, you're grabbing, like, you had to go back into the day to get motherfuckers.
Yeah. So it just, like, this fucking idiot. But again, that's the thing. It's like, it's a corporate world. Like, well, he makes money. Your product is garbage. Like, your product is literally not worth the ring you're wrestling on. And, but it's generating money. But it's at this point, that's the thing. It's like, oh, well, that's doing a great job. And Stephanie is too busy running around the world acting like she's this great like doing what all rich people do. I'm self-made and I'm for women if you're white and you live exactly the way I do and you have a nanny take care of your kids and just selling this image that she's this great, wondrous businesswoman and great accomplishment, this huge feminist and selling all the, so she's too busy selling that image. Triple H fucking is standing in the living room like the Tin Man, just like, like the kids try to fucking, squirt him in oil, like something's wrong with daddy, and Shane, I don't know what the fuck's going on with him. Like if he had that much control over that last Rumble, I wouldn't let that guy plan a menu. It's.
But the good thing is, we know Mr. King Woods is back. He made his return last night, so now he'll be involved in the feud with him and his wonderful tag partner Kofi Kingston, who we all love, against Butch and Rich Holland and Sheamus. Which I'm curious, is that going to manifest into a Wrestlemania match? If not, probably end up being on the pre-show. But it's funny. I heard the interview with I guess that Pete Dunne was talking about him doing Butch, and he said he welcomed the change. He said somehow he had to switch it up. But I'm just mad that they got the dude looking like I can't even explain his look, because when I actually saw the full look finally, I said, is he a chimney sweeper?
Yeah, it's like the Newsies or like Oliver Twist, I'm like, hard luck life.
I'm like, they don't even wear outfits like that in England anymore. I mean, they might wear the derby hat, but they don't wear that's not even 1960 England. That's like 1920, 1910
England. And again, like, okay, yeah, sure, you had to change it up, but you never thought to, maybe try something that actually would fit the guy and actually make it something people want to do. Again, like the Bruiserweight, like the dude is a tenacious little fucker and he could break you down. And again, he had like a Johnny Valentine kind of thing to him.
Yeah.
But basically making him a weird cross between like the Newsies, the Chimney Sweep, fucking the Peaky Blinders. That's really what they're attempting for. They're trying to say, oh, they're pretty like the Peaky Blinders, and it's like, motherfucker, you got your blinds closed because they didn't look like no fucking Peaky Blinders. And then this other guy, the one that hurt, Big E. It's like, I hope they sat his ass down and told him, like, I don't know what his experience level before he came to WWE. I know he's like the most injury prone man ever, but for being such a big dude, he's easily injured. I would say, hey, fucking dude, this shit, you like suplexes or suplees are like anything like that or judo related. It really is about the technique as opposed to like the Steiners were legitimate collegiate badasses. They picked you up. Like Taz was a judo black belt. You got to know how to pick somebody up, and it's about the technique, because you're the one in control, and it's about your technique and bringing them over. That's why judo is designed for itty bitty guys to defend themselves against big guys. It's the ability to control the other person as you're take them off their feet and bring them down and control them and yourself while you're doing it. And when you see guys that have that kind of game like Taz or the Steiners, or I'm blanking on his name, but he wrestles for New Japan. He's in that new clique with oh my god,
Cobb.
Yeah, Cobb was like literally in the Olympics and everything. So, and a Greco-Roman wrestler. So again, he knows the technique, and it takes a certain muscle development to pick somebody up. Like again, they make it look easy because they know what the fuck they're doing. If you're just a dude that's big, doesn't mean all of a sudden, oh, well, he's all muscular and whatever, so he has to be a suplex. No, he's not. So, you almost killed the guy or ruined his career. So I hope they sat his ass down and been like, listen.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they have a very strong conversation with
Well, fucking. I would like to think so. Because I would tell this guy, stick to kicking and punching and mean mugging.
Yeah.
Because, like a guy fucking God, why am I all of a sudden blanking on Gable and Otis? These are guys that were Olympic and collegiate, wrestlers that got to a high level, and they could do all that shit and make it look like it's nothing because they spent years upon years getting their ass handed to them, learning it. So it looks cool, but I guarantee you, they can pick. They're protecting these guys in the most ways, So yeah, I don't. And it's Sheamus. I mean, he really must be a great guy, or just have the patience.
He has not been relevant since. He's not been relevant. It's like they've been trying to figure out what to do with the band Bell.
I mean, he's never been relevant to me. He's one of the like there was a period where I just stopped watching wrestling, and he was a part of that period, and he just never. I've never.
Because I ain't even gonna point. He had a title run. He had a good title run. Well, his first title run to me was great. Now the second one was lackluster, but that was when he was dealing with John Cena.
He's one of those guys that if you're a WWE fan, and I think when he retires, you'll miss him or you'll get nostalgic about him. But honestly, nothing about his in-ring presence, nothing about his look, nothing about anything he did in the ring. I could give a fuck. There was no match that he was in that I was like, yay, or whatever. It's just, and again, and not terrible, not like, I've watched plenty of matches with him, but there's just nothing. Like if I never saw another Sheamus match ever, I could, okay,
I wouldn't cry. So, and the last thing we're going to talk about with the WWE, because like I said, it really wasn't much. And not anything that piques my curiosity or the fans would even give two shits about talking about. Of course, McAfee, it did the continuation of McAfee, and of course, Austin Theory being a little kid, slapping McAfee and running into Daddy's office. And I'm like I said, I'm curious how to see how this match is going to go down, because I keep hearing that it's supposed to be McMahon, not Austin Theory, even though I think it's going to be Austin Theory. And McMahon may be at ringside watching in some way, shape, form, or fashion, because I do not see that old ass motherfucker in the ring, not with a McAfee. And to me, that match is going to be better than the Sami Zayn and the Jackass match. So, but like I said, it's just like the build for all of this shit. To me, I'm about to piss people off. This is the worst WrestleMania build ever.
They're just not trying anymore, because I think they've hit a level of making money, because that's really what it comes down to. They're not trying. Like, why would they need to? And again, they're not wrestling, so why actually try to build a wrestling card? It's just, that's the thing. That's why it's so bad. I mean, they're commemorating a guy that they could have easily honored when he was still alive a few short years ago, and I guarantee you they're doing it so they can look again. It's like when Stephanie went out and started building up the women's revolution, and look at me, I'm a part of this. And everybody with a fucking set of ovaries on her was like, then why am I being paid so less? Why are my matches so like derelegated to, like, when the Undertaker wants to go an extra 2 minutes? And again, she had the very corporate response on Twitter, and then I guarantee you she ripped them a new asshole when she got a hold of him in face to face. They don't care, because it's like, oh, we generate a lot of money. That's basically what we do. We make the bottom, like, the all the baby penises that own stock and cry every quarter. They're making the money, so that's really all that matters. Just
So, and then we're gonna touch on NXT real quick. We ain't gonna stay in it long, because, like I said, it's just like really outside of AEW and some of these other wrestling promotions, WWE being the biggest wrestling promotion, it's like the only good thing they really got going for them is NXT UK, which I don't feel like talking about that, because, like I said, NXT UK does what it does and does a great job of it. But NXT, I'm trying to even figure out what the hell I would even want to start with this motherfucker. Because I didn't really get to pay it. It's like, because I be so busy sometimes, I didn't get a chance to watch it because I still don't have cable, what have you. But I think the biggest thing is, one, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the tag team division. Walter has made mention that he wants and he's ready for a title shot. So I see that once Braun Breaker gets the belt back at Stand and Deliver, which we know that's going to happen, there's probably Walter that he will probably face next.
Don't you mean Gunther?
I said I'm not going to call him Gunther.
Why don't you call me by my name? Are you mad at me? Don't you think maybe I don't whip you? Maybe this time you can smack me with the leather, huh? Don't be so mad at Gunther. I'll let you touch my monkey. You don't like Gunther?
Oh my God! It to me, that was just the word that they could have gave him. But like I said, now the Stand and Deliver bill for one, I haven't heard too much of what match is supposed to be going down. I do know with Braun Breaker versus Dolph Ziggler, which probably after he loses this match, they probably bring him back to the main roster. For what, I have no idea. But I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a good match. Because I know Dolph is gonna bounce for this dude like it's going out of style. Of course, I think we're gonna have, of course, this ladder match, which posed to be for the North American title. So once again, because y'all can't figure out feuds to fill out this motherfucking this premium live event, which I'm still struggling to keep saying. Now you're going to give us a 4-way. Period. Now, I don't know who. Let me take a look and see what was the damn the what you call it because I know A-Kid from NXT UK, which I kind of sad he is on NXT 2.0 because I kind of liked him on NXT UK, and I know they're gonna fuck him up royally because he's probably one of the best fucking rappers on the goddamn roster. So he's supposed to go against Grayson Waller to decide who's going to go on to that ladder match. I think there's supposed to be another match. They're supposed to determine the rest of it. I think they're trying to go for a 3-way dance. So now we're going to have a 4-way ladder match and a 3-way dance for the tag titles. Which why don't you just have MSK and that what's the name of them boys? The from Diamond Mine. Just have them have
shit, they're brothers, but they're
yeah.
They
just have them have a number 1 contenders match and have Imperium go against them because unless you're talking about Imperium, you're trying to protect Imperium from losing the title, well, not losing the titles, but unless you're going to put the belt on the Creed brothers. I had to get it right. I'm sorry. That show you how much NXT and WWE has just been that terrible. It's hard for me to remember some of these motherfuckers' names. That the Creed brothers, if you're gonna put the belt on them, you could just have them just beat Imperial to begin with. I mean, I don't understand why involving MSK it does anything for the feud when the feud that people want to see is the Creed brothers and Imperial. It's like you're adding in the ugly girlfriend to a threesome that no one wants to see.
Yeah, I just and again, it's the thing of taking guys also that are really fucking green and talking about speaking of people that know how to do a suplex the proper way. But again, these guys are super green. It's just people nowadays want wrestlers develop entirely too fast on live TV, and they want, especially WWE, they don't want to put the work in. Like Bret Hart was a tag wrestler, then he was Intercontinental, and I remember watching when he started to do single matches, like when he wrestled Kurt Hennig in the MSG show, like, cause sometimes they would air on MSG channel, like live events from Madison Square Garden, and oh my God, he almost beat Kurt Hennig, but he won until eventually they decided to give him the push as Intercontinental champ, and then eventually the world champ. They built. Now the WWE expects to take somebody that was doing CrossFit competitions on Wednesday, make him a wrestler on Saturday, and then by next Friday, he's ready to main event Wrestlemania because and it's like, man, it does not. I don't give a fuck how many years of football you played. I don't give a fuck how athletic you are. I don't give a good goddamn how good that ass looks in tights. It takes more than to be a wrestler, because it's one of those things. Again, bring it back to sometimes we ramble, folks. Because we get flustered because we're passionate about this, so we sometimes ramble or get flustered or forget shit. But we always kind of know the point. It always comes back around to the same points. You have to make the fans give a shit. You have to be able to create those memories and engage interest, and that is the art and talent of wrestling. It's like Stone Cold captivated an entire generation. Ric Flair did the same thing. Spent money and wore robes and did the same. Maybe he did do the same match, but it stayed relevant from like 1975 until 2008. And there's a magic to it that having abs or being a collegiate athlete or playing some pro sport, just because WWE says, well, God damn it, this person's a wrestler now. And it's like, hey, guess what? Go fuck yourself. I'm not going to watch it. It's like...
Yeah, because to me, because like I said, it's just to me, when I look at like the NXT product, it's kind of like, even with the build to Stand and Deliver, it's not compared to the other pay-per-views that they have built to it, they have done a better job of the build, especially when it was the Golden Black brand versus now. You know what I'm saying? Because even when they were the Golden Black brand, I was ready to see that pay-per-view. I was ready to see the matches. Here, it's kind of like,
and here's the other thing.
I really couldn't, because I'm not even hyped for the Braun Breaker and Dolph Ziggler match. You get what I'm saying? It's kind of like,
because you know what's going to happen. It's like the lamest. They took the belt off him without taking the belt off him. And if he wins, that way he gets to be champion twice.
Right.
Because, you know, and here's the thing again. It also connects to the bullshit. It's a dark match. Oh, he didn't get pinned. He was in a three-way match. And this is a rule that instead of doing the more common sense rule of you have to pin two people like everywhere else in the wrestling world to become champion, which makes actual sense. He didn't lose the belt. And, he didn't lose that because we said, no, he didn't count, no givesy backsies. And it's like, motherfucker, it happened in front. I saw it. Okay? I saw it. Therefore, it happened. You can't just say, no, it didn't. And it's like, motherfucker, he lost to a guy that doesn't talk, who's wearing jean sweatpants, and in the most lame fashion, he broke out of the most wishy-washy hug ever. Your guy lost the belt in a three-way with the stupid rule that you always use. He lost. And this weird logic that you're trying to shove in the face. You know, it's one of the things I will not do in my career ever is I will never be the guy that sits in the chair in a scene while some other guy beast fucks my quote unquote wife or girlfriend or sister or whatever, and I'm just sitting in the chair going, "Oh, come on, guys! Oh, don't do that! Oh, come on, guys! Come on! We just bought those sheets! Oh, I'll never be that guy because it's just something I would not do at all, and it just doesn't fit me. And weirdly enough, and I'm a big believer in this because I've heard friends tell me in the industry that like those guys are like actually male talent trying to get into the industry. And I'm like, well, they just shot themselves in the foot because all they're ever going to be in the eyes of a lot of people, especially probably producers and directors, is the schlub sitting in the chair looking all forlorn and ballless while getting cucked, you know, and everything. And it's like, you know, you can think of what you want of me as a talent or how you see my role as a talent should be. But once you see that, you can't unsee it. You can't. Any real male talent, no matter what the color, no matter what the whatever sexuality, what the scene is, male talent sitting in a chair just going, no, don't, no, honey, you never let me do that. Oh, well, now you're that ballless bitch in the chair forever. You know, and I've actually seen guys kind of get the chance to be real male talent, and I've by chance seen them in other scenes, and I think to myself, hey, I know that guy. That's the guy that basically sat in the chair for like the 25-minute scene being a $2 bitch. You know, it's like I saw it and I get what you're trying to do. And you're going to use WWF logic and you're going to continue to piss on the head of poor Dolph Ziggler. But you just beat this guy that you're trying to build. And this is the stupidest way to keep building him by having him lose by technicality and then win it back. You know, it's like if you're going to do it in front of people, it counts regardless of whatever bullshit, you know, rule that you make, you know, and they're already starting to fuck with this kid. So it's like the kid couldn't even make it to the main roster before they started fucking with him.
Yeah.
So, you know, thanks for that.
I already see how this is going to go.
Vince must have fucked a boyhood friend, like, or had some kind of weird military school, you know, shower buddy in military school, something named Braun, because he just loves that name Braun. You know, that's like the second wrestler or the third wrestler with the fucking Braun name, and it's just the most unrealistic, stupid name. If a little kid came up to me in life, if I was at my niece's, you know, one of my nieces or nephew's birthday party, and a kid came running up to me, and I was like, "What do you need, little man? What can I help you with? You know, who are you?" "Oh, my name's Braun." I'd be like, "Fuck you, kid. What is your name?" There's no way your parents named you Braun. You're a liar. You are a little liar, you little shit. Like, get the fuck away from me. There's no, it's the stupidest name, but apparently Vince, I'm like, somebody, you had very special quality quiet time in military school in the shower with somebody named Braun, didn't you? Because that's the only thing I could think of. Nothing, and maybe, and you know what? Maybe if Vince had more quiet, private whisper time in the shower with a special buddy, he wouldn't be such a miserable, talentless, fucking ruining everything prick that he is today. But hey, I don't know.
Like I said, I find it interesting myself. So, but like I said, I know San Liver, all this supposed to be this coming weekend, ain't it?
I don't. When is the stand? That's what I meant to ask. The stand is delivered. When is this supposed to happen?
I think they're supposed to be. Damn, that's a good question. I think they're supposed to be that Wednesday, this Wednesday, or
Okay.
I can't even remember.
So
I know Wrestlemania supposed to be this weekend, ain't it?
So is Lou Diamond Phillips gonna be the special guest referee of the main event, or is he gonna? Or are they getting like the big man himself? Are they gonna get?
I don't know. They do anything, but they don't really do too much special for NXT or WrestleMania.
Well, I don't know. Like, I mean, like, is it gonna be a like loser gets the worst test score? Have to leave the WWE for 30 days. I'm just wondering, like, I mean, if they're gonna go with the theme, I'm just wondering, like, are you gonna commit or are you gonna half-ass it?
I have no idea, but we did get a Killer Cross sighting as he appeared on MLW. Looked very strong. I'm glad that he is there now. I would prefer to see him in AEW. I'm pretty sure he'll make it that way. If not, I know he's not going back to Impact. That's out. Well, he left on such a bad note.
Possibly. Well, you actually would have to tell me that in a second, because I knew of him before he went to the WWE. I was not watching Impact at the time, but there's no room for him in AEW. Like, AEW either needs to get an extra hour on Rampage, or they need to, like I said, they need to
find the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, either they need to restructure the show to actually get more people on the show, or like Ring of Honor, which I think he would be a very good immediate main eventer. Like, he would be a very good, possibly. Like I said, I still like the Jay Lethal idea, but he would be a very good first opponent for Jonathan Grissom. Because Jonathan Grissom, again, to my surprise, is 5'4", but he's a badass. So you could do that, fighting underneath, kind of champion versus challenger type thing. But why did he leave Impact on a bad note?
It was he signed with NXT, and the way that he went about it, I think it pissed him off. So it was kind of like that situation. So like I said, with me, like I said, I'm curious to see what happened with him and everything. So I ain't got nothing else to say. So that's it for the Modern Wrestling side of this podcast. As y'all can hear, it was not that much of an eventful week. Like I said, we don't talk MLW or anything like that too tough, because it's really not worth anything.
Well, the show's already 3 hours. I mean, there's only.
Yeah.
But also, here's the thing that just occurred to me. There's, I mean, AEW just got done with a pay-per-view, but I'm sure they're going to do some kind of big event. Or actually, their next pay-per-view is coming up fairly soon for them. I think in May or something, isn't it? But, WrestleMania weekend, which is supposedly the grandest stage of them all, apparently, but fortunately that stage is a soapbox. But, and ironically, up until very recent history, the best time to watch wrestling, especially on TV, was when an impending supercard, either a Clash Champions, Saturday Night Main Event, a pay-per-view of any kind. That's when everything was really cooking and jiving, to the point where, like, even just the B or C show had something interesting going on, and it was like, oh shit, it's all gonna come to a head, Then and they were getting everybody all revved up, and they getting the card all hyped up. And it's funny, for the two big companies, we both, just sit like, it's not a lot going on. There's a lot of kind of like, so it's just interesting that you're going into big events, and it's literally, it's a who gives a fuckville. And it's funny because this should be the time where everything is just white hot and we're over talking each other with excitement because all this stuff is supposed to be popping off because it's all right there about to happen, and neither company it's like maybe CM Punk will win the title, maybe. And so yeah, it's kind of interesting that that this type of buildup doesn't exist anymore. So
the way that but then again, the booking is way different because the booking led to when it was a show the magnitude of a WrestleMania. It was a whole year of booking. It was a whole year of build. Even though the pay-per-views even built towards the WrestleMania. The pay-per-views even built towards the Starrcade. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So we lost that in this modern era, because I had this argument. Someone said, I said, there's no such thing as long-term booking. Well, AEW does. I said, AEW don't do long-term booking. And it was like, well, you had Moxley and this. I said, no, you're missing my point. When I mean long-term booking, I'm talking about the feud lasted for a fucking year. Period. Even with the booking with Dusty and Rick, they started months before Starrcade. They built up them two to when they finally did face off, it made sense. Then it took a couple of months to book and set up how ugly the feud between Dusty and Rick was. You feel what I'm coming from? Uh-huh. Even to the point that when he did have a match prior to Starrcade against Rick, we got the Dusty finish. You feel what I'm saying? Where we thought he won, he didn't. He won by disqualification. You feel what I'm coming from? The war with the Four Horsemen, which in turn keeping him from trying to get to the world title. People don't understand that. What I mean by long-term booking is that when WCW or even WrestleMania, because when they built up, they say Hogan and I think, what was it? 1 year was Hogan versus Macho at WrestleMania. That was an 8-month build. They had them as tag champs. Then they fell out, and then it came to a head at WrestleMania.
And the thing with Tony Khan is, again, not perfect, and I think it's still a huge mistake to let wrestlers book their own divisions, but also try to book two companies. And Ring of Honor, once they get rolling, is going to pop up with a secondary show regardless of where they air. So it's too much for anybody living. But you got the talent and you have some knowledge, and now you have some experience. There's no reason whatsoever, other than it's just because it's harder, it takes more effort, that there isn't any long-term booking in AEW. And again, I don't know if he's just trying to be sensitive to everybody's feelings, which you can't be, or just he doesn't want to make that extra effort. But AEW has enough players in motion and enough underneath guys that could eventually be top guys and everything else. They got all those ingredients to make one hell of a stew. And if you did some long-term booking, it did rematches and did just multiple feuds throughout the card, it gave guys something to sink their teeth into, then it would really just send AEW's product over the top. Because that's like what you're saying. You need feuds, and some long-term booking would actually help you stabilize. Because also when hiccups happen, then you have stuff in motion. You could kind of interbreed, cross mingle and pluck, stuff out and move that over here. Because, I love the Acclaim, but they need like a couple of months of rehab and winning. You can't just, even though you can't just go next Wednesday like they're the number one contenders and then have them become badasses and win the world tag team titles and just be the bane and the scourge of the tag division and kick everybody's ass. All of a sudden, no, they were losing to everybody in singles and tag. Literally, like I said, saw him at the grocery store again this week, just laying in the middle of the fucking produce aisle. just doing the job, yeah, it's just I think AEW could do it, and I think it would vastly help their product and really, set them, like, really skyrocket them. And you're right, it was all long-term booking. And like I said, guys got injured or shit happened, and they were able to maneuver it. But yeah, and that's the thing, I miss a good long feud. But if it's done right, like Raven, Tommy Dreamer, 2 years, and the big crescendo was he finally got a pin on Raven, and they had all these moving parts and people coming in and out and everything else, and they kept it fresh, and it was fucking interesting. You can do, Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer in Georgia, that lasted like 2 years, and it was, and there was a huge last Battle of Atlanta, yeah. So I mean, it's something, one of those things that if you want to separate yourself, whether you're Terminus or your own narrative or MLW or whatever, those feuds that you can build as a company on it, or a card on, and have several of them. It's, I don't know, it's just kind of something I miss. I'd like to see more of.
Oh, most definitely. So now we're done with this modern wrestling and done with the WWE, the AEW, and all that good stuff. So now you know what time it is. An ode to the old school. Last segment of the show. And this week, we're going to talk tag team wrestling. Because tag team wrestling this day and age is not the same with what we grew up with. The importance that was placed on the tag team divisions back in the day compared to now is night and day. I think about when, like, for example, when the Midnight Express came to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, came to Jim Crockett Promotions, and Dusty Rhodes, and to show you how much importance tag team wrestling was, they had a long-term plan for the Midnight Express. They had a long-term plan for the Rock and Roll Express. Every territory had long-term plans for their tag teams. You had multiple tag team feuds, even if it didn't involve a tag team titles. Because I remember when Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude was tag champs, they had their feud. But then you had Garvin and God damn it,
Barry Windham
beefing with the Midnight Express. You had Dusty Rhodes and the Superpowers, which was Dusty Rhodes and Nikita Koloff. They're beefing with the Horsemen as a tag team. Let's make this clear. As a tag team.
You even had the Garvin brothers, because they did that thing with through the fire in Roddy's face, and it showed Gorgeous Jimmy.
And even with, when I think about you, not even Mid-South, when you think about, world-class championship wrestling, you had the Von Erichs going against the Freebirds. You had the Midnight Express. They were beefing with the Fantastics.
Here's a feud that doesn't get talked about. It was like a bloody feud, and again, unfortunately, this tag team always got forgotten. Fantastics versus the Sheepherders.
Yes. Oh, yes. I forgot about the Sheepherders. That was a huge one. So it's, to me, it was a point. It was, even back in the day, like the territory that I grew up in, the Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, for the longest, there was a tag team heavy territory. They didn't even think about singles wrestling damn near late 70s, early 80s. So in your opinion, why have tag team wrestling became such a lost art, especially amongst the major companies?
Well, again, I think it comes back to the WWE, because people want to copy the WWE instead of trying to be different. And Vince doesn't like tag teams. So, and that's basically it. Like Vince just derelegated, one time he had a stacked tag division, and then just, I don't know, as he got deeper in the 90s, he just, that loss of like the last really big modern tag team was the New Age Outlaws, and and ironically, those two were the exact reason that tag teams became a thing, because you could take two guys that were really talented and good workers, and but didn't have it in the sense that they were going to be your next top guy, but you put them in a tag team with somebody else and then give them a name, and again they used to wear like the same tights and everything, and they get a theme going, and all of a sudden, bam, you got two superstars. Because Ricky and Robert weren't like they were wrestling for a number of years before they got put together, as because there was a thing going on with Jerry Lawler and Jerry Jarrett, where Lawler was going to break apart and pull a Jerry Jarrett because he wasn't happy with his share of the business, and they managed to fix that. But then they had all these wrestlers because Jerry's getting ready to just leave. So that's when they did the big trade with Mid-South, and they put Ricky and Robert together and made them the Rock and Roll Express. And then next thing you know, you got two guys that, that were good workers and everything, but again, they weren't your top guys. All of a sudden, boom, put them in some hot pants and wrap a scarf around their knee, and boom, it was just off and running. And then all of a sudden, just unless you're like a real historian and really do your research, I thought about it. I honestly did think this until the internet really came out and information became accessible, that Ricky and Robert, like they just one day became like they started out as a tag team, and they were always a tag team. No, they were both single wrestlers.
Yeah.
And they traveled the country, and like Robert's
Robert actually was a tag team with his brother.
Yeah. And his brother was a huge baby face until he got into a car accident that ended his career shortly. And Ricky was a part of several like tag teams, with like Sonny King and he was in Southwest of Texas. He was babyface with a tag team.
Yeah.
And I actually just watched a match with him and Ken Lucas. And, but then all of a sudden, boom, they put it. Same thing with Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey. Dennis Condrey had been around a while. It actually had the most experience and more success, but Bobby, had been there, whatever, nothing too big. And then put them together, send them to Mid-South, and just, and put them with Jim Cornette. It was a way of taking guys that otherwise wouldn't be big stars or whatever, and now you got the full use out of them. Because you think about it, Hawk and Animal, great tag team, put them together, but they never really would have been a big success had they ever been separated or given, like real single pushes. Same thing with the Dudleys. Same thing with Public Enemy. You take two mid-card guys that are good, but but then you put them with somebody and give them a gimmick, and then it becomes magic. So, it gave guys a chance to shine, and then it became a whole different psychology because they were a team. They lived together. They traveled together. They day in, day out, and they had their own way of. The Andersons were heels, but they out wrestled you, and they picked a body part. They beat the shit out of you. The Rock and Roll Express double team tag team moves. They were small guys, but they moved fast, and they
Briscoe brothers. Shit, they were a great tag team.
Yeah, they
were individuals.
Yeah, and when they did heel great, where they would just smile and wave, and they weren't out and out heels, but they were cocky because they could stretch your ass and pin anybody. It was a running joke in Mid-Atlantic.
I brought them up because one of my favorite tag team feuds is the Briscoes versus Jay Youngblood and Ricky Steamboat. Yeah. That was one of the hottest feuds back in the early 80s, especially in the Mid-Atlantic, for the Mid-Atlantic tag titles.
In 1983, the Starrcade 83 was the final culmination. But if you go back and look at the records, the Briscoe brothers and Youngblood and Steamboat, who just came off another huge feud with Slaughter and Kanoodle, with a famous cage match, which was famous for, like, they actually had to, on the radio, announce, do not come to I think it was the Greensboro don't come to the stadium because it's sold out. People were trying to get in that bad, and then they went into the feud with the Briscoe brothers. And if you look at the records, they traded those NWA tag titles all year. It was just them. It was no one else. It was the Briscoes, and again it goes back to we ramble, but we always maintain the point. They feuded for a solid year, and they traded the tag belts, and they were married to each other for an entire year, and it never got old, and and it was and it was a great because again they were Briscoes were healed, but they did it in a way that they were just kind of cocky and didn't really need to cheat because they could just out wrestle you. And Youngblood and Steamboat were young, fiery baby faces.
Yes.
And here's the other thing too. Occasionally you would get a tag team like Youngblood or Steamboat or Kurt Nodal and Slaughter that were also individual wrestlers, but when they became a tag team, that's what they were. They didn't have Steamboat and Youngblood didn't have a name, but they were Steamboat and Youngblood, and they were a tag team for a lot of years. And then they went back to being singles. Same thing with Slaughter and Kernodal. Ivan Koloff and Ole Anderson were a tag team for a while. But again, it gave guys either that were good single stars, gave them a new look, gave them a little refresher, made them a bigger star, and then they went back to, it was a way to switch up freshen a wrestler or give them a chance to be a big star by giving them a different environment to work with. And again, every tag team was different, and there was something about them. Like when the Russians wrestled the Rock and Roll Express, two different styles that meshed well. Scott and Rick Steiner didn't really become big stars until they became the Steiner brothers.
It's when Scott came in, because Rick was always just a mid-carder.
And he again had some single success, but and that was the thing, and it was unique, and you got behind, and there's more, and again, like the babyface tag team, and then the dirty tactic heels of being, the pro wrestler, and the psychology of the hot tag.
And see, too, also, the tag team rivalry has been lost. Because when you think about it, outside the Midnight Express and Rock and Roll Express, has always been a feud. Of course, and then of course you had the Freebirds versus the Von Erichs. That was tag team. It was not really single, so people can understand that. Also, one of my favorite feuds was in AWA. We had the Midnight Rockers going against Rose and Doug Summers.
That was great. And again, Doug Summers and Buddy Rose they did not. I mean, they had Sherry with them, not two bodybuilder types, but they could still go against two young, a little doughy young rockers. And that was one of the last feuds that kept AWA afloat, because those matches still hold up. And everybody, I don't know if Vern was paying them well, or they were all looking kind of auditioning for a job with another company, because all four of those guys, including Sherry, would go at it, and it was like a four man bleeder almost every time they had a match. And those matches still hold up.
Yeah.
And
now I'm gonna tell everybody.
Go
look this up. I need you to look this up too, and we'll talk about it next week. Go look up the British Bulldogs versus the Rock and Roll Express. The only match they ever
that was in it was in New Japan or All Japan, correct?
Yeah, and it ended in I don't know who won. I don't know if it was a draw or what. I can't remember. But that was a great match, because that was a match that you thought you would never see, and I didn't even know that happened.
Yeah, I've seen. I have to rewatch the match. It's been a long time, but I did. I'm sorry, it was actually in the AWA, and I believe they also had a match in Japan, but I think there were several times. But I've seen the match before, and it was a really good match, but I have to refresh. But we'll talk about it next week. But also the Wild Samoans, who were in the 70s and 80s, they won every tag title. Wherever they went, they were a top tag team.
Yeah.
and they got into business by beating the shit out of the wrestlers in San Francisco.
Yeah, and then I remember the Blackjacks. Blackjack Lanza and Blackjack Mulligan. And two, also tag team titles being main events at not the TV show. No, pay-per-view. I remember a time where WWE actually had a tag team title match that headlined a pay-per-view for them. They don't even do that no more.
Yeah, I mean, the Midnight Express and the Rock and Roll Express were a main event tag team. The Samoans were a main event tag team. The Assassins, the original Assassins.
Yes, and the Superstars.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, a lot of people, because all the mass tag teams, because every territory had at least 2 or 3.
One of the biggest main event tag team feuds, the Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher versus the Outlaws, Dirty Dick Murdoch and Dirty Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
They set Indianapolis and Chicago on fire for a couple of years, and that was all before the Outlaws were the Texas Outlaws were they main evented everywhere they went as a tag team, and again they did massive business with Crusher and Dick the Bruiser until eventually Dusty decided to go to Florida in '74. But yeah, it was, and that was the thing. They were Harley Race. I'm actually, like I said, I'm watching the old Mid-Atlantic tapes, and now I'm watching young Ricky Steamboat versus Harley Race. Harley Race and Larry the Axe Hennig were a main event tag team for the AWA, and they broke up because Ray wanted Harley Race wanted more out of, like, he wanted to do more and go all over the world, where Larry the Axe Hennig was happy. He had a family and everything, and you could have, like, basically the summers off in the AWA, and he was, had like a little business outside of wrestling his whole career, and he didn't really want to do all that kind of traveling, and that was the end of that tag team. But they were a main event tag team. Oh, the Von Brauners, a huge Southern tag team, and they were main eventers wherever, and huge draws. The Kangaroos were a huge main event tag team, as well as, believe it or not, Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto.
Yes. And they dominated for a minute.
They're so, and of course the Hart Foundation and the British Bulldogs were, and even the
people forget the Bumblebees.
Yeah. I mean, they weren't a main event tag team, but they were a good tag team. The High Flyers were a main event tag team in the AWA.
Yes.
What was their Bruce Beefcake, and Greg Valentine? They were
Jim and the British Bulldogs, man. That was some of the best feuds.
Yeah. They main evented, and that's the thing. It actually added a level of excitement, and it also gave you the chance to mix it up. And I do love there is something special about a good tag team feud and a good tag team rivalry, because it could be, and again, it's about the chemistry. Like the Fantastics had the forgotten team of the 80s and 90s. They had great feuds with the Rock and Roll, or the Midnight Express. They were always the feud they had before the Rock and Roll Express came in. Then the Fantastics had a great feud with the Sheep Herders, where it was Pretty Boys versus the ugly, New Zealanders, and they did huge business.
Oh, and we forgot about the Fabulous Ones. I am so sorry, Steve Kerr. And
And the Fabulous Ones too. Like they just blew up business, and actually were trendsetters, where they started doing those music videos where
because they did the heir apparent to the Fabulous Fargos.
Yeah. And they did, but the Fantastics had amazing matches with all these different tag teams. And again, they could do the blood feud with the Sheep Herders, or have the long matches. Their match in the Clash of Champions 1 with the Rock and Roll, or the Midnight Express, is one of the best, like in my top 10 of favorite matches. And just, that they were mad. They were being given 10 minutes. So they just decided to put on a match that, follow this motherfuckers. And I got to tell you, it besides the Sting Ric Flair match, it was the best match on the card. And it's if I had to make a top 10 list, which I think one day we'll do, but it takes, we're going to have to, we've seen so much that we really have to think about if we're going to make a solid top 10, but I could easily say the Midnight Express versus the Fantastics Clash of Champions 1 would be on the top 10 for me, because I could watch that match all the time. It never gets old.
Oh, most definitely. I can see it say top 10, one of the top 10 matches. Just to, I have to say Doom versus the Road Warriors, because that was the first time I ever saw somebody really give it to the Road Warriors.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, and because even to the point that when I'm seeing Doom, because any other time you see the Road Warriors, they just dominate. You had to either outsmart them or cheat heavy. These fuckers didn't have to cheat for shit. They were giving it to the Road Warriors. Period. And then of course, always I already mentioned the Midnight Rockers versus Doug Summers and God, what's his damn name, Rose. And of course, me personally, I would say, I would say, I'm trying to think of some other. Yeah, I had to sit down and really look.
Well, some of the the Sharp brothers, the father and uncle to Iron Mike Sharp, they were famous in Japan. Like they were groundbreaking tag team gaijin in Japan. We're talking about the Ricky Dozan days. They were well known for being a huge tag team overseas. Brett and Owen never really had a proper run, but they made a really good tag team. I've talked about it before. The match they had against the Steiners when the Steiners were there is a great match if you can find it. Talked about the Von Braunos, the Kangaroos, the Blue Infernos. The Moondogs. There's a gimmick that I've always been a kind of a sucker for. Is the Moondogs that had several iterations, but always. They were WWF Tag Team Champions. They became, they did several different versions, but Larry Latham was always kind of the one true constant. And then they had that feud in, I want to say 92, 93 with Jeff Jarrett and Jerry Lawler, that won Feud of the Year, and that kept that organization afloat, the USWA, because they just tore up. I mean, every match was a massive death match, and it was just one wild, bloody feud. Here's another thing: being a tag team saved the Memphis territory in the late 70s. The business was down. This is a famous story. The Tupelo concession stand brawl. Business was down, and they fired the booker, which was I believe Robert Fuller, and they kind of had to switch everything up, and they took Larry Latham, the future Moondog Spot, I believe, and they took Wayne Ferris, and they made them the Suicide Blondes. They just made them a tag team, and then the next week they were like immediately into a feud with Dundee and Jerry Lawler, who were a tag team for numerous years, and actually are kind of one of those tag teams that when they were together, they were really good. And they, the Suicide Blondes won the Southern AWA Southern Tag Team Championships from Lawler and Dundee by nefarious means, and then this huge brawl broke out in the stand, and it was like a real thing, and it was original. And I showed somebody the other day, and they were really beating the fuck out of each other. And this is the 70s, where they had like big glass jugs of like condiments and everything that they would just, and they were like taking these heavy ass glass jugs and throwing them at each other. You hear Lance Russell like, there's mustard everywhere, and they are just breaking shit over each other's heads. It cost him like thousands upon thousands of dollars to pay for all the shit that they broke. But immediately, one tag team match and one little brawl between a tag team that they just made up like a week or two before, and two other top guys, it set the territory ablaze again immediately, and they were up and running. So much so that they did it two more times with diminishing returns. And ironically, the third one has a connection to FMW because Onita was in the third one with Ricky Morton and Eddie Gilbert. And so yeah, it's like tag teams could make or break a territory. Like, you know, we talked about with the Wahoo profile that the Carolinas were historically a famous tag team division, and then Wahoo came in with Johnny Valentine and switched it up. But it was always, if you were a top tag team, you went through the Carolinas. Another huge feud that went from every territory, like they literally followed each other for years, was the original Assassins versus the Kentuckians. And they went everywhere they went, like everywhere the Kentuckians went, the Assassins were not far behind, and vice versa. And unfortunately, one of the Kentuckians was Grizzly Smith, and we all know about the disgusting history of Grizzly Smith. But at the time, the Kentuckians were a top tag team. The Assassins were a famous top heel tag team, and these guys they just did the same thing because you know they were able to go a couple states over, do it all over again, and it worked and drew money.
So yes, people. So that is the show.
Well, real quick, we're just gonna throw a little quick history because the origin of the tag team wrestling, like
my bad. I ended it too soon. We should have given the history. Go ahead and give them the history.
Well, just real quick, because like you know, we talked about when we were doing Black History Month, a lot of wrestling is still kind of up in the air. There's rumor that it was tag wrestling started in Australia. There is a theory that it started in the 50s in San Francisco, and actually one of the earliest, if not the first tag team, was a Texas Tornado match, and I believe we talked about it briefly when we did the Jim Mitchell profile in Houston, Texas, and it was a tag team tornado match with Tiger Dula and Fazul Mohammed. It went up against Heinrich, Milo Steinborn, and Whisker Savage, and that kind of was, you know, that was in 1936. I actually saw a thing that said the first tag match happened in 1901. But the most popular belief that I found looking on the internet that it was in San Francisco in the 1950s, but obviously 1936, Texas, Houston, and so there's kind of, again, eventually it's going to take a proper historian, because I'm going to imagine you would have to spend hours upon hours digging through old papers and doing research in libraries to do the proper history of tag wrestling. But tag wrestling, whether it started in Australia or 1901, 1936, or 1950, it was new and exciting. And then eventually the rules were applied where you had to hold on to the rope on the turnbuckle. It could only be made hand to hand over the top rope. The ref had to see it. And, you know, the wrestlers had like a 10 count to get out of the ring. But what spawned from that is what we've been talking about in the British Bulldogs, the Steiner Brothers, the Von Brauners, the Midnight Express, and the Rock and Roll Express, where guys who normally wouldn't be given the chance to stand out or didn't have that little extra something got a chance to become a unit, you know, wearing the same garb, having a gimmick, whether you're the Fabulous Ones or the Sheep Herders or the Road Warriors. And it gave a chance guys to kind of stand out. And then tag moves and looks and everything, and again it just created this new dynamic, and it was like hot, and so, you know, it became its own special thing with its own set of psychology and its own set of rules. And so, you know, maybe one day we'll get a clear, concise history, but, you know, not to take away from anything that the tag teams like the Bucks or the Acclaimed or, you know, even the Jurassic Express, but unfortunately it's not what it once was. It really isn't, because these guys became institutions under themselves. Like, they never broke up. Where they went, you know, they went to different territory, they went together, they went with the same gimmick. And again, they would have, you know, it was not uncommon to have feuds. Midnights and the Fantastics, Midnights and the Rock and Roll Express, you know, the the British Bulldogs and the Heart Foundation basically started out in Calgary and then made its way to the WWE, and you know, it was a bigger thing, and it had a life of its own, and now it's people. They just we take two top guys and stick them together. Now they're a tag team, and it's I miss it because it was a different part of the show, and I would really love to see like those blood feuds, in those like the Hardys are kind of the last. I would say probably they're still going, and whenever the Hardys get together, every few years, it's like, oh, it's exciting because it's the Hardys, but what's missing is they're not fighting Edge or Christian, they're not fighting the Dudleys, they're not fighting APA, like that thing of the tag teams were married to each other over the years and decades, where if they were free agents, it's like, oh shit, you got to get the Dudleys into AEW because now the Hardy Boys are here. We want to see it. It never gets old. And it was the talent of these four guys and the chemistry that always kept it fresh. I'm not gonna lie to you. If Bobby Eaton were still alive, and I really wish he was, if you said, hey, it's going to be Dennis Condrey and Bobby Eaton against Robert and Ricky in North Carolina or whatever, and the tickets are going to be $150, I don't give a shit. That match would be 5 minutes long. I would drive. I would pay the money because, and I don't care. Like, I know Dennis has had some health scares, and I know Bobby wasn't exactly in the best of health or shape when at the end of his, even when I met him a few years ago, he looked good, but he wasn't in wrestling shape. It's like what these guys are going to do in the 5 minutes is totally going to make it worthwhile. And that's the level of trust and love and just memories that he built up in the fans. It's like 5, if you count Cornette, 5 old guys in their 60s, and 2 of them are either just got out of being in ill health or just flat out of shape. We're going to put them in tights, and they're going to fucking, give you 5 minutes and whatever. It's like, I'm in. Oh, how much is it? I don't care. I'm in. I want a front row seat. I'll show up like a day before. And the guys today can do it. The guys can generate that stuff. They have to want to do it. And the bookers or the owners of the company, the Khans, the McMahons, whatever, the Court Bowers, got to get the fuck out of the way and take a tag team and let them and build them and let them, work that magic. Because I would love to see the Acclaimed get into some kind of long feud with somebody. I'd like to see the Briscoes and FTR, who actually we forgot about to mention in this whole segment. This is actually our faux pas. This is the very thing. I'm going to buy the pay-per-view mainly for this match, in hopes that this is the beginning of like a year-long thing, because like this, it's like, oh my god, tag wrestling with 2 tag teams. Oh, I want it. And there's room for it. The talent is there today. I know people like to shit on the guys for doing all the flips, but the talent's there. The room is there. And I think the fans want it, but they don't realize it yet. Like, if you give it to them, they're gonna love it. What CM Punk and MJF have done showed you some old school shit, and the fans ate it up. Let the Briscoes and the FTR show you what tag wrestling can actually really be, like a real tag feud in Ring of Honor. And by God, you're gonna fucking fans will just they'll want it all over the place. I think it could be the thing that reignites. It could be the thing that reignites tag wrestling. Because when you brought it up to me to do this profile, I was like, yeah, it is something that's kind of missing that I wish was still around.
Yeah. So now we got an episode in the books. Most definitely. So people, as you know, the next time we'll be coming on, we got to figure out when we're going to record the next one, because I want that to be the whole wrestling segment to be to review Wrestlemania both nights. So we'll figure that out, and we're going to have a guest with us also for this review.
And for everybody sitting at home, just to show you how hard, like, I got my thing going on and I'm still active and performing, and like I'm getting ready. I just did this event in St. Patrick's Day weekend, and I just booked all my travel. I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to Newark in less than 2 weeks. I'm going to Newark for like 6 days, New York and Newark, and then I'm going to Chicago for like 4 days, and then probably in between there, I might be going to Tampa. Then there's Miami, and so all this stuff is happening. But Kavanaugh here, on top of filming 87 shows a week, he actually has a job. So and we're still getting these 2 shows out. So it just shows you the dedication that this man has. That with bad teeth, with gingivitis looking around the corner, or whatever is holding him up. Like, this guy is working a job. He's got a family, and he's recording 192 shows, a week. And we're still getting it out there, and we're still watching all this stuff. So there's going to be some interesting shows coming up, and don't let the fact that 237 shows that Kavanaugh is recording every week is gonna, we're going to get the stuff out to you. It just occasionally it might be a day later, or maybe even a day earlier than normal.
Yeah, because knows I'm still like the last episode that we did. I'm still waiting for this son of a bitch to finally load to the YouTube, so I may have to reload it.
Well, you see, again, that's the problem when you're doing 325 shows a week.
Yeah. Like I said, life of a podcaster, ladies and gentlemen, life of a podcaster. So with that being said, you know how we end this all day, every day. Life is a learning experience. What's the point of the experience? You didn't learn anything. Smoke this over.
And until next time, when it's Vader time, we'll talk to you then.
Most definitely. Y'all take care.